come off mute or check their settings and indicate if they can hear us in the chamber. We're just trying to verify quorum so we can get started, please. Okay, we're just gonna do a check here on our end and see if there's an issue. Hang tight, everybody.
Hi, Councillor Joe. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
thanks.
Thank you so much. I know. Councillor Fry, Councillor Klassen, Councillor Dominato, Councillor Bly, can you hear us in the chamber now?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I can hear you, Leslie. Yeah.
Okay. And once cameras are on, we'll have quorum and we can start the meeting.
Okay, good evening, everybody. We are going to try to get this public hearing started. We are having councillors pop in and out and a little tight for quorum, so I'm going to ask all councillors to please turn on your cameras if you can. Helps the clerks to verify that we have quorum to get started. I do want to deal with one item right off the bat, and we have a suggestion from our planning team. This is not something that councillors entertain often, but to vary the agenda tonight to deal with item 2 first before item 1 due to the kind of interrelatedness between different pieces of work that the planning department is doing and sequencing. And we have a high interest in both pieces, but it would be helpful to the efforts of staff if council is open to varying the agenda and hearing item 2 before item 1. So I'd be looking to see if there's will of council, if somebody would like to move a motion to that effect.
I'm happy to move that motion, Chair, to I guess amend the agenda to hear item 2 before item 1, I guess would be the motion.
Okay. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Maloney?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Maloney. Thank you. Any discussion? I'm not seeing any. So we'll try a recorded vote if the clerks have visual on everybody. All in favor? And am I hearing any opposed? None. Okay. I also just want to note before I get into the other housekeeping logistics for the night that we do have a very significant number of speakers for each of the 2 items tonight. So we're going to see how we are pacing, and then we'll make a determination partway through so that we can provide some notice to other folks as to whether or not we're going to get to item 1 tonight or not. But we're going to get started now. So a few announcements. A reminder to the public, they may speak in person or by phone, or may submit written comments to the mayor and council. Speakers may only speak once and will have up to 5 minutes to comment on the merits of the application. Please remember to state whether you support or oppose the application. And if you are a Vancouver resident, those who are representing 4 or more individuals or groups, including themselves, may speak for up to 8 minutes. Each person being represented must confirm their name and presence in person or by phone and not speak separately. If you want to follow along, you can do that on the live stream at Van City Clerk or on X to track meeting progress, so you know when your turn to speak is coming up. Please note, everybody, that the live stream has a slight delay. Written comments can be submitted through the Mayor and Council public hearing feedback form on the city's website and linked on X. If you pre-register with a presentation, the clerk can advance your slides for you. You simply need to say next. A reminder to everybody that at public hearings, council acts as a quasi-judicial body and must focus solely on the merits of the rezoning or heritage application. Members may ask clarifying questions of staff or speakers, including the applicant, but should reserve debate until after the speakers list has closed. After hearing from speakers, council has the option to either approve the application in principle, approve the application in principle with amendments, to refuse it, or to refer the application to staff for further consideration. Okay, we're going to start now with item number 2. All right, just flipping my script here. Okay, item 2 is entitled Fast Tracking Rental Housing and Small Hotels, New Mixed-Use Commercial District. Before we begin the agenda item, if anyone believes they have a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. Does anyone have a conflict? I'm not seeing anybody on the queue or hearing anybody in chambers. I will now ask the clerk to read the application and the summary of correspondence received, please.
This is an application by the General Manager of Planning, Urban Design and Sustainability to amend the zoning and development bylaw to introduce a new C-2A commercial mixed-use district schedule and to rezone 2,348 properties to C-2A that are currently zoned C-2, C-2B, C-2C, and C-2C1 to enable up to 6 stories for rental housing and hotels. The new C-2A enables up to 8 stories in transit-oriented areas for rental housing and hotels. To amend Section 2 of the Zoning and Development Bylaw to add a new definition of transit-oriented area and amend the R3 district schedule, R4 district schedule, and R5 district schedule of the Zoning and Development Bylaw to remove the replicated transit-oriented area definition. Amend the rental housing stock official development plan to extend rental housing replacement requirements to the new C-2A district. Properties proposed for rezoning to the new C-2A district are already subject to the rental housing stock official development plan based on their existing zoning in C-2, C-2B, C-2C, and C-2C1. Amend the Downtown Eastside Oppenheimer official development plan to remove the replicated definition of transit-oriented area that is proposed to be added to Section 2 of the Zoning and Development Bylaw. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing: 57 pieces of correspondence in support, 73 pieces of correspondence in opposition. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today. Correspondence is presented as submitted and may include multiple or duplicate entries.
Great. Thank you very much. I will now make my first call for speakers. Should you wish to speak to council about the item, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061-445# before the speakers list closes. The number is available on X and will be displayed during recess. There will be an opportunity for new speakers and for missed speakers to be heard at the end of the registered speakers list. And now we have staff from Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability here to present the application. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Edna Cho, Senior Planner in Housing Policy in Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability, and I will be taking you through a short presentation on the proposed zoning changes to fast-track rental housing and small hotels. I'm joined by my colleagues in PDS and Legal Services who are available to answer any follow-up questions from Council. This presentation will go through an overview of the current state, recommendations in the report, and what we heard in engagement. The core recommendation of this report is to establish a new streamlined mixed-use commercial C2A zone, which is intended to eventually replace the current array of repetitive and very similar C2, C2B, C2C, and C2C1 zoning, thereby reducing complexity and redundancy. As part of these changes, this report also includes necessary consequential updates to the rental housing stock ODP, the secured rental policy, and other related bylaws. A little bit of background on existing C2 zones. So C2 is one of the oldest zoning districts, originally created in 1956. Over time, the rules have become increasingly complex, with minor differences in frontages and height across different areas. As mentioned in the previous slide, there are 4 C2 type zones: C2, C2B, C2C, and C2C1. We refer to these colloquially in planning as the clone zones. Most sites in these C2 zones can achieve 6 stories for rental and 4 stories for strata, but some sites in older community plans still need to go through a rezoning process to achieve 6 stories for rental. As for hotels, they are permitted in C2 only and limited to 4 stories. In terms of the policy context, the secured rental policy, approved in 2019, promotes rental housing that is essential for economic stability, social diversity, and encourages low-rise, missing middle housing forms that are 6 stories and under. The 3331 permitting targets and 2025 development viability report aim to modernize and expedite approvals with measures to enhance project feasibility amidst challenging economic conditions. These challenges include softening market trends and high construction costs, which greatly impact the viability of housing projects. Additionally, the new 2025 hotel development policy encourages increased density for hotels up to 6 stories on commercial streets outside the downtown core to alleviate the city's hotel accommodation shortage. The main proposal today is to rezone approximately 2,400 properties representing the vast majority, 88%, of C2, C2B, C2C, and C2C1 commercial district sites into a new streamlined C2A district. So why 88%? Why not all the sites? So sites in transit-oriented areas, tiers 1, 2, and 4 are excluded because provincial legislation requires minimum densities up to 20 stories and 5 FSR in tier 1, which far exceeds the height and densities proposed as part of today's C2 changes, so out of scope. Select sites within community plans, such as the commercial drive area, are also excluded based on local priorities that were identified during the community planning process. So the maps shown here are the existing C2 and clone zone sites in yellow, orange, and red. Okay, the next map here, shown in green, are the sites that are proposed to be consolidated into the new C2A district schedule, which will become the primary low-rise mixed-use commercial schedule for the city moving forward. So let's go into some details about the specific changes. So starting with rental housing, while most C2 sites already allow for 6-story market rental projects, certain areas within community plans still require more time-consuming rezoning process. The proposed changes will include 232 previously excluded parcels, so those are shown in the dark green on the map, to permit 6-story, 100% rental buildings through a faster development permit process. This update aligns these previously excluded sites with the majority of C2 zone sites. Those are the parcels that are shown in the light green on the map, creating a more consistent, understandable, fair, and streamlined regulatory framework. Moving on to small hotels, the proposal recommends increasing the hotel height limit in the new C2A district from 4 to 6 stories. 6-story hotels are currently allowed through a lengthier rezoning process through the 2025 hotel development policy. By removing the rezoning requirement, this update encourages new small hotels outside the downtown core on commercial high streets. In terms of uptake, since market rental housing generally performs better financially, staff expect these sites to attract specialized hotel operators rather than directly competing with rental housing development. The proposed updates also modernize and simplify existing districts while ensuring compliance with provincial transit-oriented area (TOA) legislation. To achieve this, staff clarified district schedule rules by removing duplicate, regularly relaxed, or ambiguous regulations. These updates follow the model of newer residential district schedules, particularly the R3 and R5 districts that were recently approved by this council fall of last year. Finally, the new C2A district includes provisions for building heights up to 8 stories, but at the same densities as the 6-story rental form in Tier 3 and 5 transit-oriented areas, which are necessary to comply with provincial requirements. So that covers about 625 parcels, about 25% of the new C2A district. Under the Vancouver ODP, sites proposed in the C2A district are designated as mixed-use low-rise. That means that all new developments must include non-residential uses intended to encourage commercial and office vitality. To align with the ODP, mixed-use buildings in the new C2A must provide at least 0.35 FSR ground floor retail, office space, or other non-residential uses. Consequently, new residential-only projects will no longer be permitted, though legacy uses existing at the time of enactment will continue to be permitted. Let's move on to engagement. So staff engaged residents and stakeholders through online sessions and comment forms, generating approximately 2,900 touchpoints. This included a Shape Your City page, a virtual open house, and targeted sessions with the development industry and business improvement associations, as well as letters to over 7,200 property owners. Feedback revealed public support for low-rise 6-story buildings and simpler approval processes for housing and small hotels. Additionally, the development community were highly supportive of the updates, urging the city to streamline the regulations and implement the changes as quickly as possible. There were some concerns raised by the public, which I'll go through here, as well as staff's response. While some residents expressed concern regarding the impact of 6-story buildings, these heights have been permitted on most parcels in C2 zones since 2021. This proposal primarily streamlines the approval process and is not changing heights on the majority of sites, though 8-story heights are now included in Tier 3 and 5 transit-oriented areas to comply with provincial legislation. It should be noted that take-up of the 8-story option is projected to be very low, as no increases in density is provided with the 8-story option. So there's no incentive for developers to choose to build in a higher, more complicated, and more expensive form without an offset. We heard concerns around the impact of infrastructure and amenities. The proposed changes are largely administrative and do not grant significant new development rights beyond what current zoning already allows. To support growth, new amenities and infrastructure will be delivered through future city capital plans and funded through development cost levy spending. And finally, we heard concerns around displacement of existing renters. To protect existing renters, all projects involving current tenants remain subject to the city's tenant relocation and protection policy. As well, the rental housing stock ODP continues to mandate one-for-one replacement of existing rental units so that new residential developments do not result in a net loss of rental housing. So in conclusion, the proposed changes are to consolidate 4 older commercial zones into a new simplified C2A district. By rezoning approximately 2,400 parcels today, this report achieves the vast majority of this transition in one move. The shift accelerates the delivery of 6-story rental housing and low-rise hotels while ensuring compliance with recent provincial transit-oriented legislation. If approved, bylaw enactment is scheduled for May 19th, allowing staff to immediately process new applications and transition existing projects. Looking ahead, the new district will serve as a template for future initiatives, including the Villages Planning Program to support low-rise mixed-use growth. So thank you. That concludes the presentation. And Council, please note there's a yellow memo attached to the report, and staff are available to answer any follow-up questions you may have.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll know that the applicant for this item is the General Manager of Planning, Urban Design and Sustainability. So we'll ask at this point if the applicant or designate has any additional comments.
No comments.
Okay. Thank you very much. Council, this is the opportunity to ask questions to either, them being similarly one and the same. Councillor Maloney, I'm going to advance you. You have the floor.
Thanks. So this recommendation just deals with existing zoning along arterials, is that right? So it's not that we're trying to restrict 6-story buildings to arterials, it's just that this is the narrow aspect of planning, zoning that we're dealing with right now.
That's correct.
Right. And tell me, we know that we're in difficult economic circumstances for construction. Are we confident that 6-story hotels along these zones are likely to pencil for developers and operators?
I'm going to ask my colleague, Sean Martinez, to take that question.
Good evening, Council. Sean Martinez, Employment Lands team in the Planning Department. Thank you, Councillor. So we do believe that it is feasible. There won't be very widespread as Hotels at this size will probably require a very specialized developers who have experience doing this type of hotel. The six-story built form does provide some advantages in that it can be built with the mass timber and other, essentially less material in that it is a lower rise form.
So we're not expecting that that this change will suddenly result in an influx of a lot of hotels. It's likely to be a gradual take-up.
Exactly. We do not expect this to be a large influx of new hotels. Currently, there's only about 6 hotels outside of downtown in Vancouver and they're usually around 3 or 4 stories. So this is not a very high volume type of deployment of the hotels. They are essentially very specialized and only certain operators can operate within this size.
And I know that there has been some public concern about the change, the increase of allowance for hotels in this recommendation, displacing affordable housing or making it more difficult to build affordable housing.
We do not expect that to be the case. Currently, with our economic testing, the highest and best use is still to do residential development. As I said, the hotel take-up will probably be very limited to some developers who are able to actually specialize and likely have already operations of this size that can actually do this type of hotel.
And perhaps a question for planners. Are we expecting that the single stair egress typology will be a feature of the buildings built under this change, or are we still expecting that there will be land consolidation?
I'll pass that over to Josh.
Yes, Councillor Josh White, General Manager of Planning. Yes, we expect the combination of more areas of Vancouver, including some of the regulatory changes we're making here around 6 stories, but especially the Villages Initiative, which, as you alluded to, brings a lot more opportunities through that program, in combination with a single egress stair regulatory change, we think will be an important advantage both on commercial main streets as well as the residential side streets for unlocking this type of low-rise product in a variety of forms that we've not yet experienced, including smaller lot products as opposed to large consolidations and land assemblies.
Okay, thanks. That's it for me for now.
Great, thanks, Councillor Maloney. I'm going to advance myself for a couple questions. When you say small specialized hotels, how many rooms might we roughly be talking about in an illustrative 6-story form for a hotel?
Thank you, Councillor. We're expecting between 80 and 150 rooms, depending on the size of the assembly.
Okay, and have we done any, what's the engagement or economic testing been like? I know you mentioned mass timber, that some folks might actually proceed with some hotels. Like, what do the economics and the interest actually look like?
So we do know that at this built form, it can be completed within mass timber. And
But
that,
have we had engagement with the hotel sector that said they would, or individuals that would actually build these?
yes, there is interest. As I said, very specialized interest with regards to sorry, if you want to.
Yeah, I was just going to clarify, like at 6 stories, the building coding would still allow you to use conventional stick-built products under the building code today. So I just wanted to clarify that. It's not just mass timber products.
I appreciate that, but I guess my question is a pragmatic one: is we can zone it, but will they build it?
Yes,
is there interest in building it, and is it economically feasible?
It is economically feasible. It is not going to be very, it is not so feasible that it would outstrip a comparable housing project. There are these specialized developers who will be able to take it up, and we do have interest from those limited parties who are looking at that size of hotel.
Okay, and when you've used the word specialized a few times, what do you mean by that?
These would be developers that have operated hotels of modest size, usually a limited service. So these are the ones who will not be providing, large convention spaces or things like that. They are specialized in essentially families or tourists who, want a simple room. Maybe there'd be like a breakfast room, something like that. But that's usually the focus of it, is usually just tourist accommodation.
Okay. And is it fair to say overall with respects to this proposal that it's streamlining of regulations and consolidation? There's opening up of some of the hotel opportunity, but it doesn't really fundamentally change zoning and entitlements per se? It just really streamlines?
Currently in the C2, hotels are allowed up to 4 stories.
I
And
meant for both, just to clarify the question, I meant for the report as a whole, including for rental housing and. for
Yeah,
home use.
that's correct. The main thrust of this is really simplification and alignment of the zones. Yeah, so it doesn't change the heights and densities. That's proposed. Yeah.
Okay, so it's more streamlining our processes, but for the public's clarification, it's not really changing heights and densities other than what's what's enabled right now.
Other than what's enabled right now, except for those 232 zones, sites that were previously excluded from going up to 6 stories, but were allowed through a rezoning for rental. And then, because of the TOA legislation, we had to allow the 8-story height for the sites that are within the tier 3. Yeah.
Okay, appreciate that. Thanks for the clarification. Okay, if there's no other questions from council at this point, I'm not seeing any. Last chance. I'm going to make my second call for speakers. For those wishing to speak to council, you can call 1-833-353-8610, followed by close of the speakers list. The number is on X and will be displayed during the recess. We will now hear from the public. Any speakers in the council chamber can please come forward to the podium on the left side of the chamber when it's your turn. It can be adjusted to suit you. Controls are on the right side, and phone-in speakers will be unmuted when it is your turn. All speakers will have up to 5 minutes to make your comments and should focus your comments on this specific application. Our first registered speaker tonight on this item is Jordan Sue. And Jordan is here. Great. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good evening, Chair of Council and council members. I do have a USB and a really quick PowerPoint if I can display this onto the projection.
There is a deadline to submit presentations, unfortunately, ahead of council. Are you able to proceed with just making your comments verbally?
I did also submit it online. I'm not sure if you guys
You
have
submitted it to the clerk's office?
as well. Yes,
Okay, when did you send it in?
I believe it was last week when I signed up for it for the speaking and also the.
Okay. All right, we'll just pause for a moment and see if
Sure.
that can be identified. Oh, I'm being advised that they have your email for sign up, but the presentation was not attached.
Oh, it's not part of it. Can I upload it now to present?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we have the ability to do that because they need to sync them up ahead of time.
Okay, that's fine. I do have a paper copy of it if that helps.
What you can also do is you can email it in to the comments to council, and that can go on the public record, and council can have it after. If you feel
Okay.
comfortable, you can go ahead and
Sure.
speak to your presentation.
Sure. Yeah, I can go ahead with it first then.
Thank you.
So, my name's Jordan Sue. I'm part of the Cape Group, local developer. So we have a site on Charles and Nanaimo, right on the corner there. It's located within the Grandview Woodland community. The address is 2336 to 2366 Charles Street. Currently zoned primarily C1 with a small portion RT5. So as per the design policy under the Grandview Woodland Plan, policy supports our proposals to strengthen the area as a local shopping node with retail at grade and housing above. There is an image that shows, but I can submit that afterwards. And also within the urban design policy, the Grandview Woodland Plan identifies key urban design priorities, including a mixed-use building of up to 6 stories, as presented previously by the staff. So our site falls within the Grandview Woodland shopping node, including the balance of our block and the blocks to the north and south. The intent is to emphasize this as an emerging commercial street and local shopping node. The Grandview Woodland Plan identifies housing policy intended to increase housing options, supply, including ownership and market rental on our site. We're hoping to proceed with market rental as part of the proposed development and retail at grade. For us, we would like to move ahead with a mixed-use building that aligns with the Grandview Woodland Community Plan and the proposed C2A zoning. We think this can greatly improve the opportunity for enhancing the local shopping street and provide secured market rental housing above. The pre-zone approach allows us to move forward in an efficient manner and work to secure the necessary development and building permits to begin construction and deliver the product to the public as soon as we can. Sorry, without the picture, it's a little bit hard to visualize this, but specifically, if we're referring to the staff report, map 58 of 60 in Appendix A, Schedule B of the staff report, we're asking it to be amended to include the remaining portion of the block face on the west side of Nanaimo between Charles Street and Kitchener. The municipal address is 2336 to 2366 Charles Street. So that's 4 lots, 4 standard lots as C2A to ensure a consistent retail frontage, to kind of give council members and everybody else a quick snapshot of what we're talking about without without visuals here. There is currently the catchment right on Nanaimo where there are catchments where the properties are being included in the C2A proposal, and we are 4 lots adjacent to sharing 1 lane just on the north side of a site that is already included in the C2A zoning that's being proposed. And we're just asking to have our site also to be included and finish that block off and to keep it consistent. Or else the zoning just south of that lane would be different and inconsistent with ours, and for us to move forward quickly and be able to deliver and deliver a product for the public use for retail and rental housing as well. That kind of provides a better context and idea of what we're asking for, if that makes sense. And in closing, Cape Group supports the proposed C2A zoning and appreciates your time and consideration, also to include our site in this exciting new zone. Thank you, and happy to take any questions.
Thanks very much, Jordan, for speaking to council. I'm not seeing any questions, but thank you. And you can email in again in your information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Speaker number 2 is Michelle Travis. I see her coming to the podium. Good evening.
Good evening, Council. My name is Michelle Travis. I'm a resident of Vancouver and a representative of Unite Here Local 40. I also live near one of the affected corridors that will be targeted by this proposal. This is perhaps one of the largest mass rezonings that many residents probably haven't heard about. It calls for rezoning nearly 2,400 parcels along some 20-plus neighborhood corridors, which is sweeping. We're opposed to this proposal. This is not a housing affordability plan. It's a developer fast pass. It prioritizes speed and developers' bottom lines over people and does so on a large scale. It's unusual to see market rentals and hotels coupled together in this way, and it's concerning. Council is being asked to approve this without a clear standalone analysis of impacts on neighborhoods, tenants, or affordability. That's not careful planning, it's reckless. These corridors include renters living above shops, mom and pop stores, and workers. Upzoning like this can drive land speculation, raise land values, and lead directly to displacement. Existing relatively affordable rental units could be demolished and replaced with significantly more expensive ones. This could push out people faster than it houses them. There are no requirements for below market rentals and no guarantees for lower moderate income households. Worse, a related proposal coming to council on May 19th threatens to weaken below market rental requirements further. What this is likely to bring are expensive market rate units that many residents cannot afford. Even more troubling, the proposal fast tracks hotels alongside housing, as if hotel rooms are so sacrosanct they deserve special treatment. Council has already approved thousands of hotel rooms, and thousands more are already in the pipeline. The question really we have here is, why are we fast-tracking hotels instead of affordable housing? You can downplay the impact, but it is significant. If we don't anticipate many hotels coming through the pipeline, then why do they need incentives, and why should they be allowed to bypass public hearings? If developers or investors want to build hotels, they should be treated like any other investor in a risky asset class. The city doesn't need to provide a safety net for hotel developers. This proposal further erodes what little public input remains in the rezoning process. Public hearings have already been limited for many residential projects. This would also allow hotel developments to bypass public hearings entirely, regardless of community impact. At the same time, consultation on this proposal has been targeted to property owners in the corridors, but local area residents have not been meaningfully engaged. It's stunning that city staff has held a special presentation for developers, but City Hall provided no direct notice to residents who live in the surrounding neighborhoods. It's not inclusive planning. We're being asked to take this on faith while the city doubles down on policies that have so far not delivered the affordability that working people need. If you're serious about affordability, then we want you to show us. Don't fast-track market rentals without any affordability requirements. Don't prioritize hotels over affordable homes. Don't strip away public oversight so that we can reduce costs for developers. This is not a housing solution. It's another developer giveaway, and we ask that you reject the proposal or send it back to staff. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Michelle. Speaker, there are no, so I'm sorry, there is a question, please. Michelle? It's not a question? Okay, sorry, my apologies.
Sorry.
Councillor Maloney, something else?
I appreciate that the people in the gallery are very enthusiastically supporting the speaker, but it's really the end of a long day for us, and I'm really trying to focus on what the speaker has to say, and it's difficult for me to really hear when there's other noise in the background. So if you could indulge me by just trying to be quiet, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maloney. You beat me to it. I was just about to remind the public of that. Thank you. Speaker number 3 is Azahara Martinez.
Speaker 3 is not on the line.
Okay. Speaker number 4 is Stephen von Schielski.
Yes, hi, Mayor and Council. Thanks for the opportunity to speak on this today. I'm Stefan von Sachowski. I'm the president of the Vancouver and District Labor Council. We are a local union federation representing approximately 90 local unions and about 60,000 union members here in the city and neighboring municipalities.
Sorry, Speaker, I'm going to ask you to pause, and I'll pause your time. We are very tight for a quorum, and I'm just going to ask councillors online if you can possibly have your video on. It's great, because if someone steps out of the chamber, we are losing quorum. Just confirming the clerks, do we have quorum back? Okay, thank you. Sorry, Stephen, I'm going to reset your time, and please go ahead and start again. Thanks.
Okay, sure, thank you. Yeah, thanks for the time this evening. So I'm Stefan von Sachowski. I'm the president of the Vancouver and District Labor Council. We bring together over 90 local affiliated unions, approximately 60,000 union members in the city of Vancouver and neighboring municipalities. I'm here today to speak in opposition to this proposal. And the reason really is that it doesn't truly address our affordability crisis. supported. I remember being at council to support the increase in the requirement for 20% affordable housing in developments in the city, and that's a threshold which, on its own would never lead even that threshold to the number of affordable units we need to fix the housing crisis in the city, but it was a step in the right direction. And, this proposal really seems to toss that out. It doesn't align with our city's most urgent need, which we hear every day from our members, is housing affordability, the availability of housing they can actually afford to live in the city in which they work. There's, proposed 165 rental units here that are to be market rate, and they don't meaningfully address the dire need for affordable housing. And there's no below market or non-market housing in this, and, waiving that 20% threshold, just, the housing crisis hasn't lessened or gone away. It doesn't make any sense to step back from that commitment. I think as we heard from the previous speaker, this is a case of incentivizing developers to build more of what we don't need, right? We really need to be incentivizing to build affordable housing, below market housing, social housing, all the types of housing for lower and middle income folks across the city who are struggling, not for more unaffordable units, expensive market rentals, or hotel rooms. Also concerned about the waiving of community amenity contributions. This is, we see that those don't match the value that's going to be increased by these developments, and that needs to be addressed. We think, those who can afford to contribute to the city need to do that, and we don't agree with waiving contributions that normally should be required. At the end of the day, I think workers know today that trickle down is a myth, right? It doesn't work on our paychecks, and it doesn't work in housing either. We've seen decades of a theory that if we just build more, prices will drop. And as we've seen that theory put into practice year over year over year, we've seen the prices only rise. And we do need to build more. We need to build a lot, but we need to build the right stuff. If we're going to make the impact that we want to make and, make this place affordable for everybody. So I really urge council to vote no on this proposal and to really return and reorient the city's focus to strategies to build what we need and to increase affordability for working people and for everyone in the city of Vancouver. Thank you.
Thank you very much for speaking to council. No questions. Speaker 5 is Royce Schwinn. Phone.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor Kirby Young. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. Royce Chuen, President and CEO of Destination Vancouver, resident of Vancouver, and yes, in support of item 2, fast-tracking rental housing and small hotels. We had commissioned a study, and it was released back in April of 2025 with Cascadia Partners, a third-party organization. And what we wanted to try to understand was, and we knew that one-size-fits-all hotel everywhere is simply not going to work. And we recognize there's different needs. There's a lot of tension between affordable housing. We also have a $9 billion visitor economy that employs 70,000 plus people in the city. Part of the economic engine of the city is the visitor economy. We know that there is a hotel shortage. We have gone in the opposite direction, 2,000 less rooms. We have the same amount of rooms today as we did in 2002. Meanwhile, the competition that we deal with has been building hotels. And so when we look at things like this, or we look at hotel development, it's not to suggest that anybody wants a version of Las Vegas for Vancouver, but there is an economic engine here that is going in reverse, and we need to reverse that. And we know with this proposal and the study that we did, which is the Hotel Community Impact Assessment, we wanted to understand what types of hotel typologies fit in different kinds of neighborhoods, including smaller format hotels that were integrated in neighborhood commercial areas. We know that they are not only economically viable under current zoning regulations and market conditions, but they can also function as local economic anchors. They can support jobs, activating streets, strengthening community vitality. We see this. These are actual things that happen with some of these hotels. There's a lot of practical evidence in this particular space, and it does do something to address the structural shortage of hotel supply. So different formats are critical. Downtown hotel sites alone will not deliver the scale of affordability that we need in a range of different kinds of properties. And so there is some policy alignment here allowing small hotels in mixed-use districts. It's very practical to unlock the supply. And I think as city staff noted earlier, we don't expect 1,000 developers to show up and overrun the city with these small hotels. That's not the case. They are specialized developers. I think what we see from what is item 2 here is that it's simply creating the conditions for the option to be able to do this if there are some developers that are offering to build this type of typology of a hotel. One of the other things that we know with something like this is that it perhaps could help displace some of the short-term rental demand on STRs where those are being used up, where perhaps those could be turned into necessary housing. And these types of hotels also, they're next to high-quality transit. So less cars in the street, more people using transit to move around the city. And so lastly on this, small hotels, we like them. There's daily foot traffic. They animate local streets. They support local retail, food and beverage, the small mom-and-pop operators who require that foot traffic in their areas. And they also contribute to street activation and safety in our neighborhoods by allowing the movement of people and some engagement in there. So we do see some alignment also in mixed-use commercial districts that are explicitly designed for that vibrancy and economic activity. These types of small hotels, where applicable and where they make sense, is a good idea. So again, we support item 2 here, fast-tracking rental housing and small hotels, new mixed-use commercial district. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time.
Great. Thanks for speaking to council. Speaker number 6, Stanley Lee.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm actually surprised that you're even holding a public hearing on this tonight, given the ODP. Since I have the rare chance, I am speaking today to strongly oppose item 2, even though I suspect that you'll just rubber stamp this in the dead of the night. While I agree that the city needs more hotel capacity, the process has been downright awful, providing another massive cynical bailout to the developers who own the city. Maybe they should be the government instead of you guys sitting in the chamber. I mean, grifter's got a grift, right? The upzoning and the hotel designation, specifically the hotel designation, will cause further land lift, as if you haven't hiked the property taxes for the surrounding small businesses enough with the highest and best used valuation through BC assessment. Do you expect us to act like desperate peasants grateful for whatever breadcrumbs that the tourism industry may provide, or are you trying to evict all the remaining small businesses to the Tri-Cities or to the Fraser Valley? I urge you to vote no on item 2 unless you've been ignoring what I've been saying while you guys are doom scrolling on your phones. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to remind speakers if they can just focus on the merits of the application and refrain from casting aspersions at council, that would be appreciated. Speaker number 7 is Matthew DeCorby.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yes, thanks for taking my questions here. Good evening. My name is Matthew DeCorby, and I do strongly oppose this project. I have worked in the Vancouver hotel industry for many years, and I am a very proud resident of the West End in Vancouver. I felt compelled to speak before you all today in hopes that you will understand how difficult life has become for the working class people here in Vancouver. I would like you all to prioritize people over profit and developers. I work every shift I can, and I keep my costs as low as I can just so that I can simply continue living here. But I am being fully pushed out by this affordability crisis as we speak. Not only me, but my neighbors, my best friends, and all the very elderly people that are in the West End who have lived in Vancouver for decades are all being pushed out. It is not fair. There is a serious lack of investment for working class people in this city, yet developers have the ear of our mayor and council. There are new luxury projects getting approved regularly. However, decent paying jobs are disappearing in the city. Does our mayor and council even know this? Are good paying jobs ever in the discussion when the developers get approvals for their luxury projects? I do not hear anything, if anything, from the City Hall about affordable housing. My question is why? Why is this not on your agenda? I will have to move out of the city along with thousands of others because we just simply cannot afford to live here, and simply your priorities are not affordable housing. I sincerely hope you consider putting working people and their concerns above profits and developers. Thank you.
Okay, speaker number 8, Rahul Sensoya.
Speaker 8 is not on the line.
Okay, speaker number 9, Kirsten Lebrun.
Speaker 9 is not on the line.
Okay, thank you. Speaker 10, Jason Lebrun. No, Jason?
We're checking in the back. One moment. Speaker 10 is not on the line.
Okay, speaker 12, Botchman Jomo. Hi there, is that Botchman? Staff, it doesn't sound like we have connection to that person.
We'll see if there's a technical issue. Just one moment.
Okay.
Speaker 12 is not on the line.
Okay, thanks very much. Speaker 13, Fabiola Salguero.
Hello,
Hi, is
my
that
name is Fabiola.
Go-
My name is Fabiola. I live in Vancouver, and I do not support this policy because I'm a working person. I work so hard in a hotel, and I show up every day. I do my job, and I struggle to keep my family together, to get the roof. This is not a friendly. This is not a friendly city. Family-friendly city. And when I see the council proposing to fast-track market rentals and small hotels across our neighborhoods, I have to ask, who is this for? Actually, it's not for me, for my family. It's not for my neighbors, that they have family too. Then what gets built at the end of the pipeline is market rate units that working people cannot afford, and hotels do not house anyone at all. This is mass rezoning of our neighborhoods, and the public will have less and less say each time. If council was to fast track anything, fast track below market homes, fast track housing for lower income workers. And don't use a streamlined process to give developers and hotel operators an easy path projects that do nothing for the people at all and for families. We are in a housing crisis. The answer is not more incentives for hotel developers.
That's the end of your comments? Okay, sounds like that's the end for Fabiola. Speaker 14, Rekha Sharma.
In Vancouver, but I don't support this plan because I want to be honest with council. I work in this city, but I cannot afford to live in it. I get up early because I live in Delta, and I commute in. I put in full day, and at the end of it, I go home somewhere else because Vancouver has no place for worker like me anymore. That is not because I haven't worked hard enough. It's because every year decision gets made in this room that prioritize developer over the people doing the work. we should be investing in affordable housing, in real homes for working families, in a Vancouver that the people who keep it running can actually live in. I urge you to vote no on this proposal. That's what I will say right.
Great, thank you for speaking to council. Speaker 15, Felicima Bellignon.
Hello.
Hi, is that Felicima?
Yes, I'm
Please go ahead.
Felicissima Bellingon.
Yep, please go ahead and make your comments.
Okay, my name is Felicissima and I live in Vancouver. I do not support this policy because me, my friends, and families work hard and we are all struggling. Everything like groceries, hydro, gas, and rent go up, but our paycheck are stagnant. Now, council is proposing to fast-track rentals and small hotels across the city. None of that helps people like us. The market price in Vancouver is already out of reach, and a hotel is not a housing. This policy, in mass rezoning by another name, it changes neighborhood policy quickly, and those people living in those neighborhoods get less of a say each time. If council wants to fast-track process, use it for the housing this city actually needs, like housing for the lower-income workers. That is what would help my neighborhood. We need affordable housing, not hotels. I urge you to vote no on this policy. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Speaker 17, Sashi Singh.
Speaker 17 is not on the line.
Okay, we'll move to Speaker 18, Angel or Angel Batin.
Hi, good evening, councils. This is Angel. I work in one of the hotel in Vancouver, and I do not support this policy. This is a mass rezoning. It will reshape neighborhoods quickly with less public input. And the buildings it produces will continue the same trend. Units rise beyond working peoples and hotels that produce no housing at all. I commute into the city every day because I cannot afford to live in. By the time I get on my shift, I'm already tired. By the time I get home, my day is gone. And council's plan is to fast track more market rentals and more hotels or small hotels. That does nothing for me. It does nothing for the worker I commute alongside. If you are going to fast track anything, fast track below market housing, fast track homes for lower income workers, and stop giving incentives to tell developers who do not build what we need. Bottom line is we need affordable homes, not luxury hotels. I urge everybody to vote no on this policy. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Speaker 19, Bobby Singh.
Not on the line.
Not on the line. Speaker 20, Catherine Dela Cruz.
No, not on the line.
Speaker 21, Rajwinder Parmar.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you. Please go ahead and make your comments.
Okay. My name is Rajwinder Parmar, and I do not. I work in Vancouver. I do not support this policy. I do not have. I do not live in Vancouver because I cannot afford to. Every year, my commute gets longer because the cities around Vancouver are now expensive too, full of workers like men who got pushed out, and council's response to a regional housing crisis is to fast-track market rentals and small hotels. This policy is mass rezoning. It will reshape Vancouver's neighborhood quickly, and the buildings it produced will continue the same pattern that pushed me out. Market units I cannot afford, and hotel incentives that produce no homes at all. If council is going to fast track anything, fast track below market housing.
fast-track homes for the lower-income workers this region depends on. That is the only fast-track that address the actual crisis. So I urge you to vote no on this policy. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you, Rajwinder. There are no questions. Speaker 22, Connie Chan.
My name is Connie, and I live in Vancouver. I do not support, this policy because, I think, the government should provide citizens with a basic living needs, and housing is the first priority. The government can provide affordable housing, not for the hotel. Because right now the rent, the food, the oil price, all, the living, expenses are very high. If, within, the past year and or two, the living expenses is increased more than 30% to 50%. Living expenses cause so many families to facing a lot of financial pressure. If, the government should be, facing, have to face the people that really need it. There are affordable, housing is very important to our people. Can the government learn about housing policy from the Singapore government? Take Singapore, as a reference. You can live and work in peaceful and going out in much safety. And nowadays, even the elder, old people, have to continue working for make a living. Make a living. Right now it's not easy to afford living in Vancouver. The cost too high. And I hope, the government can support, the people, not just a favor to, the rich people.
Thank you.
So I hope okay, that's it I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Connie. Speaker 23, Akbal Bisla.
Not on the line.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, did we? No. Speaker 24, Katia Moreno.
Not on the line.
Thank you. Speaker 25, Ravi Kumar.
No, not on the line.
Thank you. Speaker 26, Alita Chan.
My name is Sayalda Chan. I'm the president of Unite Here Local 40. I'm representing members throughout BC, mostly are in the Lower Mainland, and I'm against this proposal. Our members are commuting 4 hours. Some of them live in Maple Ridge. Some of them live in Surrey. Some of them live in Richmond. They wake up at all hours of the day to go to work. Some of them have to leave home at 4 a.m. There's no transit. Some of them have to, they work graveyard shift, and they live in Surrey. And so many of our members cannot afford to live in the city. Actually have, for people who work in Vancouver and who would very, very much rather live in Vancouver than commute 3 to 4 hours a day. They end up spending 12 hours away from home, and they work back-breaking jobs in the hotels. They're dishwashers, they're housekeepers. And they are the best paid hospitality workers in the country. Because they really, really got involved and they went on strike a few years ago, but still they're struggling to live. So there's a crisis that we're facing here in the city, And the crisis is an affordability crisis, but it's mainly a housing crisis. Many of our members cannot afford to rent or to buy homes, and the ones that do scrape up enough money to buy homes, they're living very far away. So what we need is for you to put proposals that are going to help have hotel workers and working people in the city have a life where they can thrive, not just survive. Many of our members can't save everything. They're just living paycheck to paycheck. Many of them work 3 jobs. Some of them work 1 job, but many work 2 to 3 jobs. Some of them are single moms. So you really need to be thinking about how do we actually make sure that Vancouver is not just a city that is welcoming tourists from all around the world, but really how is it a city that can take care of people who live and work here and people who are committed in making the city one of the best cities to visit. But the tourism workers in the city need you to stand for them. And so I'm against this proposal, and I'm urging you to really stand by working people's lives in the city and to make sure that you vote against it and really have a plan towards affordable housing, towards the cost of living. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Speaker 28, Mike Biscar.
Not on the line.
Okay. Speaker 29, Diego Reyes Meneses.
Evening, Council, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Diego Reyes, Vancouver resident, and I'm opposed to this proposal. I work in hospitality, and I'm concerned about this plan. First, fast tracking often leads to bad designs. For workers, a fast building usually means tiny service areas, crowded hallways, and no space to do our jobs properly. We need functional buildings, no rushes one. And second, more small hotel and rentals built too quickly will put too much pressure on our local services. It makes the neighborhood crowded and harder to live in for those of us who actually work here. Please, let's prioritize quality and workers, not just speed. We need a district that works for everyone, not just a fast construction. Thank you for your time and have a good evening.
Thank you. Speaker 30, Natasha Kurek.
No, not on the line.
Thank you. Speaker 31, Brankika Obachina.
No, not on the line.
Thank you. Speaker 32, Nazca Spasic.
Not on the line.
33, Jean-Philippe Savago.
33 is not on the line.
Okay. 34, Joshua Young.
No, not on the line.
35, Kim Yun-ju.
Not on the line.
Speaker 36, Dominador Ganduya.
No, not on the line.
37, Zhao Li Tang.
Oh, one moment. Speaker 36 has joined.
Okay, Dominador, you can go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Dominador Intuya, and I work in Vancouver hospitality industry. I'm here to oppose this rezoning proposal in its current form. I want to be clear, I support new housing, but this proposal is not delivering the kind of housing that Vancouver workers actually need. Fast-tracking market rentals and small hotel development without firm affordability requirements is not the solution to the housing crisis. It risks making it worse. Market rental in Vancouver is simply not affordable for most workers. Though programs like MRRHCD and similar policies may often see only a small portion of units offered to below market rates, and even those are still out of reach for many people earning average wages in hospitality, healthcare, and service sector. Meanwhile, workers are being displaced in my industry. It is now normal for employees to commute from Surrey, Burnaby, or Langley because they cannot afford to live in the city they serve. This has real impact on workforce stability. service quality, and people's quality of life. Even my 25-year-old daughter, a full-time licensed hospital nurse who deliver and serve 20 to 25 patients every day all over Vancouver, cannot afford to live independently in Vancouver. If essential workers cannot afford to live here, then our housing policies are clearly not aligned with reality. This proposal also prioritizes additional hotel and commercial uses without securing housing for the workforce that those industries and depend on. That imbalance should concern council. So I ask, where are the guarantees? Where are the binding requirements for deeply affordable housing tied to local income, not market rates? A meaningful percentage of units secured for social or non-profit housing. Without this is not a housing solution. It is development strategy that leaves working people behind. I urge the City Council to either reject this proposal or amend it and include higher more mandatory affordability targets, partnership with non-profit housing providers, clear enforceable affordability definition tied to real wages in Vancouver. Vancouver cannot function if its workforce is forced out. Without housing policy must reflect that. Thank you for your time, City Council.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Speaker 37, Zhao Li Tang.
No, not on the line.
Okay, we'll move to Speaker 38, Mary Scare.
No, not on the line.
Okay, Speaker 39, Juanita McNeil.
Not on the line.
Speaker 40, Sean Lervold.
Not on the line.
Speaker 41 is Robert Bader.
Not on the line.
Speaker 42, Vesna Peranovic.
Yes. Oh, pardon me. 41 has just joined.
Okay, we have 41. Robert, if you're on the line, please go ahead and you can speak to council.
Hi. My name is Robert Bader. I'm a Vancouver resident, and I strongly oppose item 2. I've worked in the hotel industry for 27 years, and I'm a proud member of Unite Here Local 40. We fought hard for our wages, protections, and working conditions. These proposals threaten these hard-won rights, as union and hotel workers will be without proper representation. I also oppose it because it gives more freebies to greedy billionaires and developers. These so-called hotels are just a sneaky loophole being used to push hard-working people out of their communities. Calling them hotels is laughable. This is just a plan to build more expensive, unaffordable housing and push working people out of their neighborhoods. These people don't care about the neighborhood. They only care about money. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Speaker 42, Vesna Peranovic. Vesna, if you can hear us, you can go ahead and speak. Staff, doesn't sound like we have Vesna.
One moment. Staff are just trying to help speaker number 42.
Thank you.
Uh, 42 is not on the line.
Okay, thanks for confirming. 43, Kabir Madan.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Great, thank you. Good evening, councillors and folks in the chamber. My name is Kabir. I'm a resident of East Vancouver and I work in the downtown east side. I oppose this motion. The motion to turn the various zones to zone C-2A raise a few concerns in my view. We are giving developers a valuable public asset, namely increased density, and asking for nothing in return except that they rent the units instead of selling them. Market rents in Vancouver are already unaffordable to most working people, as you've heard already today. This is not a housing policy, it is a landlord subsidy. This motion proposes to rezone 2,348 parcels, many of which contain older, more affordable rental stock. Fast-tracking development means fast-tracking displacement unless we build replacement affordable housing now. And this is something that many organizations, including the Carnegie Housing Project and the SRO Collaborative, have been calling for decades. Build affordable housing first and then displace people to build your market rentals. I don't need to be an urban geographer to know that upzoning increases land value. This proposal writes a check to property owners, many of whom are large corporate landlords with no clawback, no community benefit agreements, and no requirement to sell to the city at a fair price later. We are making future social housing more expensive, but doing it now. I support building more rental housing, I really do, but this motion is not a housing policy, it is a market stimulation policy. It gives developers and landowners everything that they asked for, that's faster approvals, less public input, more height and more density. In return, it asks for nothing except that units be rental and not strata. I'd suggest, if I may, that recommendation A in the staff report be amended to require that any mixed-use residential buildings developed under the new C-2A district schedule with a floor space ratio exceeding 2.50 include at least 20% of dwelling units at below market rental housing, with rents set at or below the BC housing income limits or HILs for moderate income households, secured in perpetuity through a housing agreement. If 20% inclusionary makes a project unviable, then the density bonus we are giving them from 2.5 to 3.5 FSR is insufficient anyway. Raise the density further or accept that market developers must contribute to the public good in exchange for public density. We have a vacancy crisis, we have an affordability crisis, and a displacement crisis. This motion solves exactly one of those problems, vacancy. And it does so by kind of flooding the market with units at market rates that most Vancouverites still cannot, and in the near future will not be able to afford. So please, not vote in favor of this motion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Speaker 44, Nathan Landry.
Not on the line.
Speaker 45, Matt DeMarchi.
Hello.
Hello. Please go
Can
ahead.
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you great. Just go ahead.
Awesome. Excellent. Okay. Hello. I'm calling in today against this proposal for a few reasons. Firstly, every dollar a hotel developer spends on a hotel is money that won't be spent on rental housing, especially affordable rental housing. They're competing for construction crews and supplies. And most of all, I'm against bundling the rental home and hotel vote together. This is undemocratic and not transparent. These two issues are not the same. Lack of affordable rental housing is an incredibly serious problem. It affects everyone that lives in the city, but also anyone who wants to live in the city but can't afford to. To put these two issues side by side does not do justice to all the people who can't afford to live here. It does not respect the struggles of the people working to survive in this city. It shows that the city itself does not have the solutions to the affordability crisis. Aside from that, up to 150 rooms to me is a sizable hotel, and the communities affected should be notified. That's really a money-making machine, especially in the summer. Residents in nearby communities should know that a couple hundred guests a night, and really, now that more and more people are staying in hotel rooms, maybe 300 or 400 guests a night could be staying on their block. That's a lot of people. The community deserves a proper understanding of what that means and the safety and security concerns and policing concerns that could come along with that. But at 150 rooms, I don't even understand how that won't suck money away from rentals. That's a very profitable hotel. I urge council to vote against this and focus on the affordability crisis at hand. Separate these two issues and show affordable housing the respect it deserves. Thank you for your time. Have a great night.
Thank you very much. You too. Speaker 46, Faye Cassas.
Hello.
Hi, is that Faye?
Yes, speaking.
Okay, please go ahead when you're ready.
My name is Faye Casas. I live in Vancouver and a taxpayer. I strongly oppose the proposal hotel project. Vancouver is a very expensive city to live. The rich gets richer, the poor gets poorer. The city should focus how to improve housing availability and affordability. We need affordable housing, not a hotel room for tourists. I urge you to vote no for this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Speaker 47, Linda Ong. Linda? Okay, Speaker 48, Preet Sangha.
Speaker 47 should be on the line.
Okay, do we have Linda?
Can you hear me?
Is that Linda?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Linda, and I oppose this proposal. I have worked in the hotel industry in Vancouver for many years. I would like the mayor and the council to stop giving handouts to developers and focus on making Vancouver an affordable city where people who work here can also live here. Wages have not kept us with living costs. That means paychecks do not go far for us. This has been happening for many years. People who make this city what it should not have to worry about moving out to another city so they can continue to buy grocery. Please, making working class people a priority instead of developers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for calling in. Speaker 48, Preet Sangha.
Hi, yes, Preet Sangha.
Yep, please go ahead. You can go ahead and make your comments to council now.
Hi, yes, my name is Preet. I strongly oppose this project. I grew up in Vancouver and I work in Vancouver. I drive 3 hours a day to and back from work because I can't find affordable housing in Vancouver. I've been trying to find affordable housing for the past many years, but like my friends and many other people my age, it's nearly impossible. Some of my friends pay upwards of 60% of their monthly wages in rent. Not much is left for groceries and gas for their cars. And that's if they have one. Many of us are pushed out of Vancouver to the suburbs, with living in Vancouver increasingly becoming a far-fetched dream. Who are we prioritizing when we are fast-tracking proposals like this? The housing crisis impacts thousands of people in the city, and quite frankly, the future of the young people in the city. More hotels are not going to help them. I urge the mayor and council to prioritize working-class people. Give us affordable housing. Stop developer handouts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Speaker 49, Michaela Smith. In person. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, please go ahead.
First of all, thank you for letting me speak. I want to remind, not that everyone's here, but I hope you're online. I do want to remind this entire council and the mayor that this is an election year. And I want you to ask yourselves, what does fast-tracking hotel zoning in the largest density of local independent businesses do within Vancouver to help affordability? Who does it benefit? I also want to remind this entire council is that if you pass this map of rezoning, you are literally signing the death warrant of thousands of independent local businesses that employ, pay taxes, and more importantly, vote in Vancouver. Commercial real estate is not zoned like residential. If you zone these streets for hotel rooms, thousands of small family businesses will be unable to sustain the rising cost of property taxes. which then allows millionaire and billionaire developers, like some that are spoken in this room, to swoop in, buy buildings, pick out tenants with affordable rentals, small businesses, all just to build luxury hotels. Like, who does this actually benefit? Not the city. Local business owners invest in the local economy at 300 times the rate of foreign-owned chain stores and hotel conglomerates. Lucy, you asked if there are any developers interested in building hotels, and immediately the presenter said there was actually quite a bit of interest. So if there is interest, or if there's significant interest, why are we blanket rezoning? If there was meaningful engagement with the public, why does the rezoning move to remove the ability for public input? Why not let a developer with a solid development plan request a small hotel if it's not meant to be a new gold rush for developers? People in this galley and from all over the Lower Mainland come to enjoy the unique, independent small businesses and owners in these effective corridors of Little India on Fraser. Like, tell me you haven't been to some of those restaurants. Or the countless small businesses on Main Street, Fraser, Commercial, and Kingsway, like Anand Chi, or the gluten-free bakery in Fraser, or the independent grocery stores like Famous Foods, Stadium Market, East is West, Organic Acres, or the Neptune record store owner that found an original Beatles recording and personally gave it back to Paul McCartney. Bean Sprouts is a secondhand kids' clothing store that has been in the neighborhood for over 20 years, upcycling kids' clothing that would normally end up in the landfill. She has already had to move from 27th on Main to 33rd on Main due to the rising costs of rent. On Fraser and Kingsway, there is an empty, brand new commercial space that has been like that for 2 years. The only people on Main, Fraser, Kingsway, and Commercial that rent in these new builds are dentists, physio, which I went today, or fast food chains. Even today, in any new builds on Fraser or Main, you will find only chain grocers or chain pharmacies and banks. The new rental builds struggle to find renters for their market rate new builds, and there are empty new builds all over Maine and Vancouver as we speak. So now that market rate rentals are not financially viable for these developers, we suddenly have a new manufacturer crisis of hotel rooms in areas where families have moved and opened local businesses which are overwhelmingly supported by the community. Main Street landed among the top 15 coolest streets in North America and only one of 2 in all of Canada. Main Street, cited with its independent stores and independent eateries, was assigned the up-and-coming destination on the Hippometer, whatever that means, which measures an area's developmental stage, livability, and retail flavor. Our demographics include 56% of renters. These are people you will displace if you do blanket hotel rezoning. People come to these neighborhoods not because it's filled with indigo books and Starbucks, but because we have unique, independent local businesses. We have an affordability crisis, not a hotel crisis. We are not going to build our way out of this crisis. If you approve this rezoning, you will be responsible for making the affordability crisis worse by making costs unaffordable for local businesses. If you approve this rezoning in its current form, I will personally go to every local business along the corridor and let them know that your decision to rezone their residential and commercial spaces for hotels is the reason the property taxes are rising, and ensure all vote accordingly. The developers have lobbyists, the developers have AI bots that can
I'm sorry,
spam and
Michaela,
support.
you are over time.
But we
I'm
have
sorry-
voters.
I'm sorry, you're well over time, but thank you for speaking. Speaker number 50 is Tori Cooper.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Tori. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you. So my name is Tori Cooper, and I'm a Vancouver resident, and I oppose this proposal. I am very concerned about the mass displacement that this rezoning will promote, and we cannot simply ignore the residents of this community and the independent shops in the area that will be negatively affected. And this proposal will worsen the housing and affordability crises that affect all of us. So please reject this proposal. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you very much. Speaker 51, Lian Shenlin, sorry.
these two proposals. One is faster tracking rental housing, and one is rezoning AAA A96 Cambridge Street. Someone who works for a living, it is honestly getting harder and harder to get by in Vancouver. With inflation and gas prices so high, I have to work every dollar I spend. To buy a house, I had to put together my entire family's savings from decades of hard work. Right now, I'm just barely staying afloat, and I know it is going to get tougher when I retire. A lot of my co-workers are still working while past 65 because they have no choice. That's the reality of many of us. The police is basically a major rezoning of our city. It fast tracks approvals, reduces public input, and pushes more development toward the kind of buildings that haven't worked for working people. Market rentals that low-income workers can't afford, and hotels that don't add any real housing at all. If council is going to move this fast, it should be for something that actually helps us, like building below market housing that let working families stay in the city. That's what we should be prioritizing. I urge you to vote against this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Speaker 52, Rachel Bridolph-Horwitz.
Not on the line.
Okay. Speaker 53, Shaylin Arnold.
Hello?
Shaylin? Yeah, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Hi. Okay, perfect. Hi, my name is Shaylin. I work in Vancouver, and I strongly oppose this fast-tracking of these rentals and hotels because I, quite frankly, am tired of seeing the news every day and being let down by the city of Vancouver. I am 27 years old and can barely scrape by to live here, and every day for people my age, the future is looking bleaker and bleaker. And I see all these wonderful things done by the mayors and councilors of other cities across North America, and I'm left wondering what is going on. The mayor of Chicago, his top priority is making communities safer, like building a brand new hospital in the South Side. That's awesome. In New York City, the most famous city in the world, well, it's more affordable than here. Thanks to the mayor of New York, the city has gone after bad landlords and won $30 million in settlements and has repaired over 6,000 units for low-income households. He just announced free Wi-Fi for thousands of households in the Bronx. And we're too worried about FIFA in June to take care of our own people? How about some affordable housing instead of more hotels? We don't need more hotels. I guess that everyone's freaking out about FIFA, and they should, because, look at what Vancouver was like in 2010 when we hosted the Olympics in comparison until now. The homelessness problem is astronomically worse. The price of everything is way too high. Smaller cell phone businesses are struggling more and more. This fast-tracking of the rentals and hotels will do nothing but put more money into the pockets of the richest of the rich in the city, and we've all had it with these handouts to the people that already have all the wealth they could possibly need. It is destroying our city, and we need to start helping the people that actually need it first. Then you guys can go nuts with building whatever you need, but don't build more business opportunities while people are sleeping on the streets outside of these establishments. Vancouver, the city I was born in, my family has been here for over 120 years, is becoming a city that I can't even recognize from 10 years ago. And I don't mean this by landmarks and new developments. I mean in character, in dignity, and morality. Please, for the younger generations of the city, don't leave us a bigger mess than we already have. I urge you all to oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker 55, Christina Figueroa. Oh, great. Looks like they're here in person. Please go ahead.
Hi. Good evening, councilors. I'm Christina Figueroa. I'm a resident of Vancouver and I oppose this proposal. I'm concerned about this proposal's impact on public hearings specifically. I would like to begin by saying that I am a firm advocate for democracy, and it is truly disheartening that the council that represents me is considering taking away my democratic right to speak either for or against projects that directly impact my community. Public hearings should not be optional. They are a necessity for our city to remain democratic. A vote to fast-track hotel developments and bypass public hearings is absurd and sends a clear message. The opinions of your voters do not matter. I urge you to vote against this tonight. This is especially worrisome because this proposal cites rezoning on Main Street and East Hastings. Considering the vulnerable populations in the area, having public input will be crucial. There are dozens of social justice organizations that work in the downtown east side. Surely, they should be consulted and allowed to participate in a public hearing about these developments. Mass rezonings will completely change these neighborhoods and not allowing impacted folks to share their concerns is truly, truly disappointing. Please reject this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Speaker 56, Jay Sanchez.
Hello.
Hi, Jay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you great. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Acting Mayor and Council. Thank you for your time and for all this hard work that you do for the city. My name is Jay. I'm a Vancouver resident, and I oppose this proposal. If I go to the city website to this item, it says that this decision or these changes are designed to help more people find housing and offer a wider variety of places to live and stay. So my point is that this fast tracking is presented as a way to prioritize rental housing, but it does so by reducing public participation. So I don't understand that equation of less public participation equals helping people find housing. In particular, in this case, where you're mixing hotels in the same bag. So beyond the obvious affordability crisis, I guess one of my main concerns is public participation and accountability. So public hearings are one of the few formal mechanisms that we have to respond to specific developments in our neighborhoods. Reducing or removing them, it does not in itself deliver secure or affordable rental housing. It may speed up approvals, but it does not ensure that the right kind of housing is built at the right price in the right places. Again, that equation doesn't make sense. So I know that there might be an assumption that less public participation will lead to more investment, and that more investment will result in better housing outcomes. But it's clear from our experience in Vancouver that such relation is just not true. In practice, increased investment without clear requirements has not consistently delivered affordability or housing security. Public confidence is also very important. When participation is reduced, it risks undermining trust in both the process and in public institutions, and I think we are seeing that. So that trust is essential. Even trust in small things like, changing items last minute, it erodes confidence on the public. So beyond the process, there's also the question of priorities. Again, like you're putting hotels here. So this proposal combines rental housing with hotels, two very different uses. So again, that doesn't make sense to me. If you're actually looking at, helping people find houses. Same issues applies here, right? You have also, I think, thousands now of rooms approved and more on the pipeline after adopting the new hotel development policy calling for 10,000 rooms by 2050. So you're actually, very ahead with that. So I don't know what is the need to mix those two things and reduce public participation. So public participation should not be seen as a barrier to housing, and it should be seen as a tool to deliver better housing. So also, I heard that there might have been already some type of bot sending messages to the city's comment webpage. So, with this all AI craziness where we don't know what's true, what's not true, I think, again, public participation is so fundamental to our democracy and our trust in institutions. So I think just finally, I will say this respectfully: decisions about process, they do shape public trust, and process is important. So as council approaches the upcoming municipal elections, this will become part of your record. So I would really urge you to consider whether reducing public participation like that in decisions of this scale is the direction you want to set and the record you want to, give people when they go voting. So please do not move ahead with this decision. Thank you very much for your time and the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Speaker 57, Naya Holers.
I am also here to oppose this proposal, primarily because it does nothing to address the affordability crisis, and a supply side push doesn't help if there's no requirements for below market rentals, and I just really don't understand why there's so much push for market rate rentals when no one can afford them, and we're even going to lose the relatively affordable units that already exist on the above the street level retail, and there's no effort to dedicate affordable housing or just below market, and many of these units will be out of reach for modest to low income people. And not only that, but hotel developers don't need incentives and should not be automatically fast-tracked to get approvals without democratic participation from the people of the city. Council has approved hotel projects totaling 3,000 rooms with over 3,800 more in the pipeline, and new projects announced by the day. In 2025, Council adopted a new hotel policy calling for 10,000 rooms by 2025, and we're likely to approach that number of approved rooms this year already at the rate Council is going. So why is the city prioritizing tourists and hotel developers over residents? I really strongly encourage you to oppose this proposal.
Great, thank you for your comments. Speaker 58, Benjamin Middleton.
Not on the line.
Okay. Speaker 59, Gulzar Graywall.
I'm online?
Is that Gulzar?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. This is Gulzar Garwal. Good evening, everyone. And I am a resident of Surrey, and I'm working in Vancouver long time. And every day I travel 3 to 4 hours to go to work and come home. I like to be live close to my work, but I cannot afford it. So I strongly oppose this proposal hotel project. Vancouver is already facing a serious housing affordability crisis. Many residents, including myself, are struggling to find stable and affordable housing. Building more hotels does not address this urgent need. Instead, the city should prioritize developing affordable housing for the people who live and work here. While tourism is important, it should not become at the expense of residents' ability to live in their own city. I urge that city to reconsider this project and focus on the solution that improve housing availability and affordability. And I strongly oppose this the hotel proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 60, Pardeep Tandy. No, Pardeep?
Are you hear me?
Oh, yes, Pardeep, we can. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I am Pradeep Thandi. I am a resident of Surrey. I am working in Richmond. I live close to my work, but I can't. Every day back and forth about 4 hours. We can on the road, but too hard for us. So we want to live close to my work. is very, very tough because I can't afford everything. So we don't want any more hotels. So we need affordable housing. So, young generation, they very hard to buy anything. So my daughter, she working in Vancouver, but she live in Surrey too. It's very hard to afford everything in Vancouver. So I am against the project. I oppose this project. We can afford anything in Vancouver. Please look something for everyone. So we are working full time, 6 days, but I can't hold it. So how can afford young generation? Please look something. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pradeep. 61, Kiranjeet Dillon. No? Kiranjeet, can you hear us? Are you on the line?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you. Please go ahead with your comments.
Okay. My name is Karanjit and I am working in Richmond at Radisson Blue Hotel. And I live in Surrey. I go to Richmond more than 1 hour. So I wanted to live in Vancouver, but I can't because I cannot afford it. It's very expensive. In back days we were there. I was living in Vancouver, but now I am in Surrey. So Vancouver should be affordable for everyone. So please, we are strongly against this project. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. Okay, speaker 62, Catherine De La Cruz.
Not on the line.
And speaker 63, Richard Campbell.
Hello?
Hi, Richard.
Hi. Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, great. Good evening, Council. Thank you for letting me speak on this issue. So, first of all, like the other speakers have talked about, we really need to focus on affordability. So, I think with this proposal, there's certainly some homes apartments that can go ahead without these recommendations. So I would say let's let those go ahead. The developers who are creative or have great locations that other people want to live in that can support the non-market housing, let those go ahead. And then for the ones that can't, that could be lots of sites, and those will be likely in good places in the city that aren't too hot, that have parks nearby or near the ocean. Places like West 4th Avenue can probably support the 20% below market housing. So let's stick with that. And then for the other areas, let's figure out, okay, how many floors do we need to get up to the at least the 20% affordable housing? So I think that's a much better, more equitable solution that will enable people with lower incomes to live in every part of the city. Unlike this, if it's at market rents, the people that can afford to live in the nice areas of the city will pay the market rent, leaving everyone who can't, for forcing them to commute from wherever. The other thing I think we need as part of this, or in general, is to fix up the streetscapes of the city. We need 2 rows of trees. We need rain gardens. We need protected bike lanes so the streets are safe and usable and comfortable to live on in all types of weather, especially in the summer. It's only happening in a few streets like Canby, and it's not happening anywhere else in the city, and it's really inequitable, and it's really unfair. We need really to take extreme heat seriously. It kills people. It makes them more irritable. It causes violence. I just learned. So let's focus on making the arterials nicer places to live, and then more people will want to live on them. People that can't afford to subsidize the rents of people with lower incomes who can't afford to pay. So let's work on that. Let's come forward with a great proposal that's inclusive and figures out how to make the city more affordable. And the proposal before you right now certainly does it. So I think everybody needs to sharpen their pencils and figure out something that actually works for everyone. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Speaker 64, Deirdre Whalen. Oh, you're here in person. Hello. And Deirdre, are you a representative speaker or are you speaking for yourself?
I'm speaking on behalf of Costco.
Okay.
How do we put this down?
So but you have 5 minutes because you have to have the other folks with you if you're a representative. So you have 5 minutes. So please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I'm here to speak in opposition of this proposal. I'm here on behalf of Costco, BC, and that's not the ones that sell the hot dogs. This is the Council of Senior Citizens Organizations of BC. We are an umbrella organization that brings together older adults to work on common issues, and this includes 65 affiliate groups representing over 85,000 members. And we're all seniors. Costco is affiliated with a million-member National Pensioners Federation, and we promote all of these issues that are important to us on national level as well. One of our main goals is to advocate for safe, adequate, and affordable housing for seniors. It is unacceptable to Costco members that this development proposal ignores affordable housing altogether. Vancouver's most urgent need is affordable rental housing. The City of Vancouver should not be removing the requirement for 20% below market rentals. We have a housing crisis, and an adequate and affordable rental stock can help to alleviate this. Expensive housing affects everyone, but especially seniors who rent. Seniors are the fastest growing demographic in BC, and the numbers will continue to grow. This should not be a surprise that baby boomers in the 50s are now seniors in the 20s. The BC Seniors Advocate Research Report shows that half of all BC seniors live on less than $35,000 a year, and a quarter of these seniors live on annual incomes of less than $23,000. Affordable housing is defined as no more than 30% of income. For a senior on this income of $35,000, work it out. Affordable means a little over $10,000 a year and less than $1,000 a month. This development would rent a market studio rental for about $2,300, and that's well out of the question for a Vancouver senior. Also, the 411 Senior Centre in Vancouver reports that seniors who are renters have predominantly been renters all their lives. They are disproportionately lower incomed, they're more likely to be women, and more likely to have been divorced or have been single all of their lives. Providing safe, adequate, and affordable housing is a task that cannot be entrusted to private industry. The voting public needs the City of Vancouver to restore their policy that reserves 20% of new units in below market rentals. This City Council has been a leader in setting aside a percentage of units that are below market, and I can say I'm from Richmond, and I speak to Richmond City Council, and we look to you as being leaders in this regard. So for these reasons, Costco members urge City councillors to vote no on this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in person to speak. Speaker 65 is joined as Laurel Stranahan. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Laurel? Not hearing Laurel.
Yes, 65 is not on the line.
Okay. All right. At this point, that is the end of our registered speakers list. I'm going to ask if there's any additional speakers in the chamber to please come forward to the podium now. And I'm also going to ask the clerk if we have any additional speakers on the line at this point.
Not at this point, not for this item.
Okay, I'm now going to make my third and final call for speakers. If you wish to speak to council about the item, you can call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code, which is 1061445 # before close of the list. The phone number is on X and will be displayed during the recess. Council will now take a 2-minute recess. We will come back at 8:45 for any additional speakers that call in. And we'll see you back here shortly. Thanks. Okay, everybody, welcome back. I'll just check in with the clerk if we have any additional speakers at this point. Okay, Council, we're just trying to give our telephone operator a chance to identify the speakers that are on the line, if they're on the line for this item, the next one. So we're going to take an additional 2 minutes and we'll come back at 8:49. All right, council, we're going to reconvene. It looks like we have one individual wanting to speak at the podium, I assume. Can I ask you to identify your name and if you're a resident of Vancouver, and then you can go ahead.
Thank you so much. My name is Jack Bernard. I am a resident of North Vancouver. I work with the Cape Group. My colleague Jordan Sue had spoken earlier about a proposal that we have in, and we're in full support of the extended C2A zoning. I'll be brief and not to be too redundant. All councillors have now received the previous mentioned slide deck that wasn't able to be shown. So just for clarity's sake, on page 7 of that slide deck, there's a clear understanding of what it is that we are requesting, which would be a motion to include us within the C2A zoning and extend the zoning on the block of 2336 to 2366 Charles Street. All of the lots to our south, directly adjacent to us, are part of the proposed zoning. And we are just looking to be included in the new proposed zoning. So I just wanted to bring clarity as to where they would seek the information Jordan had requested earlier, and then reiterate that we are in full support of this proposal. And we appreciate everyone's long night. So sorry if I'm being redundant.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody else in person, so we're going to go to the phone.
The speaker with the last 4 digits, 9163. Please unmute and you can go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
You can. If I can just get you to state your name, if you support or oppose the application, and if you're a resident of Vancouver, and then you can go ahead.
All right, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Good evening, councillors. My name is Rohan Wang. I'm a Vancouver resident, and I support this proposal. I've been sitting here listening to quite a few of the preceding speakers, and frankly, I'm just a little confused. There were a lot of fears about how this proposal isn't creating enough affordable housing, and just generally a lot of doom and gloom about the extent of it. It makes it sound like this is some gigantic zoning change that's going to ruin our city or whatever, and I honestly just don't get it. At its heart, what this proposal really just does is simplify some existing zoning where mid-rise apartments are already generally allowed, to create more consistent rules, simplify some red tape, and enable the kind of gentle density that we all want in our cities. Dear councillors, you know better than anyone else in this city that towers are divisive. You've sat here at dozens of public hearings where speaker after speaker says the same thing. We don't want towers, we want more gentle density. Well, here is your gentle density. Here are your 6-story apartments that are, generally in these locations replacing single-family homes or, legacy commercial lots with, that are reaching end of life. So this is, not going to create much displacement, far less than some previous proposals that have been advanced would. It would enable housing to be built faster, more consistently in more areas. I will admit, this is not my favorite proposal in the world because it does still limit us to the grand bargain, where a lot of housing is mostly concentrated on arterial. But it is the bare minimum. Like, if we can't even get some housing permitted on our arterials without a gigantic public hearing where everyone says no, 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 then I don't know how we're going to get anywhere in solving our housing crisis. And yes, this proposal does also allow some hotels, but I don't see the issue. The idea that hotels and housing compete against each other implies that we have a small and finite and scarce amount of land to build housing and to build hotels, which is not true. The vast, vast majority of the city is single-family homes. In fact, 3 weeks ago, this council unanimously voted to replace a single Shaughnessy mansion on Granville with 31 apartments. We have so much land in the city that is being utilized for, very unproductive uses that could be new housing, new hotels, and we can and should have both, because if we don't build hotels, we encourage the proliferation of illegal Airbnbs all over the place. Tourism is not going to vanish overnight just because we managed to NIMBY away new hotels. Far from it. I think I've said all I needed to say, so I strongly support this proposal again, and thank you for listening.
Great. Thank you for calling in. Next one.
Speaker with the last four digits, 3181. Please unmute and go ahead.
I think, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you state your name and if you're a resident of Vancouver, and then you can go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Joan Jacquard. I am a resident of Vancouver. Once again, and I'm speaking in opposition to this proposal. Once again, I am appalled but not surprised by this council's determination to shut out the citizens that you were elected to represent through under the public radar, fast-tracking this targeted rezoning, which will fundamentally erase Vancouver's landmark neighborhood commercial high streets. Unfathomably, Council and the Planning Department have already disregarded Vancouver's foundational economic and social structure by erasing any acknowledgement or reference to our neighborhoods in your recently approved ODP. Vancouverites closely identify with geographically defined areas they live in the city by reference to, for example, Mount Pleasant, Kerrisdale, Marpole, Grandview Woodlands, Cedar Cottage, etc. These are not arbitrary names, but reflect the developmental history of this place. Great cities are not made by obliterating their foundational beginnings. Take a look around the world and imagine if all historical references, buildings, and placemakings were urban renewed. That now maligned mid-century North American model of urban renewal was proven to be untenable and destructive to healthy urban life, and was largely resisted in Vancouver through public protest against inner-city freeway projects in the 1960s and 70s. A more civic-minded and enlightened council of the time listened and responded to public outcry. Consequently, historical neighborhoods like Strathcona, Chinatown, and Kitsilano remain and have evolved over time. Urbanist Jane Jacobs' seminal book, The Death and Life of Great American Cities, should be required reading for all politicians and urban professionals. Coincidentally, council members may have taken the opportunity this past weekend to be sensitized to urban activist Jane Jacobs' work, who fought urban renewal and its destruction of vibrant, on-the-street commercial spaces and social connectivity in New York City and later Toronto. I decry council's lack of respect for citizen input into our own neighborhoods with your now normalized lip service to public engagement through scant and short public notice of this unprecedented rezoning. The economic fallout of this uplifting of land values will have immediate impacts through raised taxes and the resultant decimation of our vibrant, small-scale storefront shops. This is a direct assault on Vancouver's historically evolved and beloved commercial streets, and for what reason? These are the heart of Vancouver's 22 neighborhoods, which reflect the evolving cultural identities and distinctiveness of the places we call home. The hodgepodge of our public living room spaces and shops are where we engage in the public realm with shopkeepers we know. These low-rise streetscapes are pleasant places to be, with sun penetrating the sidewalk and street trees creating canopy. 6 to 8-story buildings will kill that street market ambiance, creating shade in our northern latitude city. The character of our commercial streets with their abundance of small-scale, independently owned, leased shops provide the essential needs of a walkable neighborhood. Many are thriving. The Drive, East Hastings, Fraser, and Main Street, Denman Street, because of their diversity and character. And some need urban planning support to reinvigorate what makes these existing commercial streets the desirable social communities they have and can be. The solution is not in unaffordable new builds where larger retail space destroys small independent business opportunities, promoting chain, characterless retail. The passing of this ill-conceived rezoning proposal, generated, I assume, by a manager of planning who is a recent immigrant to the city and clearly has no grasp of nor taken the time to appreciate and respect what is good about and working in the urban fabric of Vancouver. His mandate to fast-track all recent zoning regulations which are clearly intended to support developer needs without any priority of providing affordable housing is a disgrace of this civic regime. The only housing that is needed in the city is affordable housing in its multitude of built forms. I implore you to withdraw this community-destroying rezoning initiative. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm going to go to the in-person speaker. Looks like we have one more individual that would like to speak in person. Can I get you to state your name and if you're a resident, then you can go ahead?
Sure. My name is Gudrun Langhoff. I am a resident of Vancouver. I live in Marpole, and I'm lucky enough to live in a housing co-op. My cohorts are boomers, just like I am, and we find that affordable housing is almost non-existent unless you go to the substandard basements or whatever. And it's really important to I mean, I'm trying not to fall into the baffle-gaff of planning speak, because I don't do that very well. We simply need affordable, accessible housing. And I don't understand how building or making it possible for more hotels to be built without any public input is going to be useful for us. I really urge you to vote against this and not to use this particular proposal as a good one. You've heard from a lot of people who've sort of said what I've said. We need more affordable housing, not more hotels. I don't know who lives in hotels. Why are we talking about, world-class cities, which is just when you don't have enough housing for people? That's ridiculous. In any event, I wish everyone had the opportunity to live in affordable housing like I do. Our community is a really nice one, and it's really important because we are community building when we are in social housing like that. And anyway, I just want to reiterate what many of the speakers before me have said, and I wanted to leave that with you rather than, let's have more B&Bs, because I don't think that's going to be worthwhile either. Good night and thank you.
Thank you very much and good night. Okay, we'll go back to the phone for the last couple of speakers. The next one.
We have approximately 6 speakers on the line. The speaker with the last 4 digits, 4078. Please unmute and go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Russell Wong. I'm a resident of Vancouver. I don't work in real estate or development. A number of speakers have mentioned the need for affordable housing. There is a close connection between housing scarcity and housing unaffordability. Because we make it pretty difficult to build new housing, prices and rents have to rise to unbearable levels to push people out. I support this policy change. As I understand it, the proposed C2A zone basically covers the same area as the existing C2 zones, which allow 6-story rental buildings in local shopping areas. This was passed back in 2021. The main effect of this change is to have a simpler and more uniform set of rules. More generally, it's better for a council to focus on passing citywide policies, even if there is a lot of discussion, as we're seeing now, rather than repeating the same battle over and over again on every individual site-by-site rezoning. In terms of public opinion in general, there was a poll of City of Vancouver residents in December by Leger asking people how they wanted the city to grow. 14% wanted to limit growth and keep the city low density. 26% wanted to continue with concentrating density in high-rises near transit nodes. The most popular option, I think about 46%, was 4 to 6-story buildings across the city. In terms of requiring below-market housing, my understanding, based on analysis by Coriolis, is that 6-story rental buildings typically do not include enough land lift to support below-market housing. I don't have strong opinions on the change to allow a hotel with the same size and floor space, but the city does need hotel space. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We'll go to the next one.
The speaker with the last 4 digits, 0726. Please unmute and go ahead.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay. Hi,
If you
my
can
name
just
is...
state your name and if you're resident
Yes,
of
I'll do
Vancouver.
that. Yeah.
Thank you.
My name is Sal Robinson. I am a resident of Kitsilano for the last 45 years or so, and I operated a licensed bed and breakfast in Kitsilano for about 17 years until COVID put an end to that. So I do recognize the need for hotel options outside of the downtown core and the regular places that we find them. However, I oppose this application because it is one more nail in the coffin of resident input into how our neighborhoods develop. I can think of appropriate places for small-scale hotels outside of the areas where you're accustomed to finding them, but I truly believe residents should have a voice in welcoming them or not. and I am just sort of so sick and tired of everything being done top down, mass everything. And as a resident for my whole life here, I feel like I have never had less voice in what happens to the city that I and my parents and my grandparents have all lived in through our lives. And it's terribly sad, so I really hope that you will vote against this and let the neighborhoods decide how they will develop. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next.
Speaker with the last four digits, 7304. Please unmute and go ahead.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you. If you can just state your name and if you're a resident of Vancouver or not,
Perfect.
you can make your comments.
Thank you, yes. Yeah, good evening. My name is Raul. I am a resident of Vancouver here in West End. I strongly oppose this proposal. I have lived in Vancouver for many years, and I feel that my city representatives are not addressing the affordability crisis well at all. So I believe that every other day I hear about like flashy luxury development that's coming over, but we don't make an effort to have the say about affordability that people that are that addresses affordability. I've heard a couple of speakers previously, and I was hearing there's one that was saying that no, we need more. I work in a hotel and I work for a developer. I can tell you for sure they do not care about affordability at all. So let alone our city should be very much alert on these more the rezoning developments. I would ask them to to focus on affordability crisis. I would ask them. There was the speaker from Costco that does not sell hot dogs, that actually represents the senior citizens, to hear that person properly, that we need to address the affordability crisis also for senior citizens. Number 3, we should also address, Mayor Kensim should address the safety issues that we have in Vancouver. I can't walk in East Van at night. Also, I can't walk on Granville. I don't feel safe at all. So that's serious concern as well. They should be focused on that. 2,300, I heard one of the speakers saying 2,300 for a studio. I live in downtown. 2,300 for a studio is actual price that we're looking at right now. So I'm actually shocked that they are more concerned about flashy luxury hotels, and I work in one for last 15 years. They should be more focused on affordability housing, that people are not taking 2 hours in and out transit to get to their home. This is pushing people more and more outside the city than being in core. I live in West End, and West End has a culture. It's a very nice neighborhood, but I'm afraid it might not be the same the way it was earlier. Like the lady before me was saying about Kitsilano, that's changing as well. So I really, really hope that this gets dealt with. Affordability crisis has to be dealt with first. And so I oppose this, and I don't think so it's the right one to look for pumping in more and more hotels than addressing the affordability crisis. Mayor Ken has to say that. He has to address that. And we are the people in the city that are saying it. And we want him to hear that affordability is the top agenda that he should be having, not the luxury hotels. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Raul. Next number.
Speaker with the last four digits, 0011. Please unmute and you can start your comments.
Hello, my name is Laurel Stranahan, and I'm calling to register that I am opposed to this fast-track zoning. 2 reasons. One, mostly for the same reasons that all the other people are opposed, is we have a lack of affordable, dignified housing crisis in the city, and that needs to be addressed. There was a caller that identified Singapore and said that perhaps people should look at Singapore. Another caller
referenced European cities, and there are solutions. This is a problem that needs to be solved. It's no good having people have to commute for hours and have 2 jobs to put a roof over their house ahead and food on the table. And I mean dignified housing, not 325. If it hasn't been, well, I'm living in a repurposed 325 square foot place, and it's because it's been repurposed. It's perhaps not laid out as efficiently as it could be, but it's not enough space for a real life for an adult. Sports equipment, hobbies, whatever. And family relationships and social life. It is just not. So I think that needs to be considered as well. And I see the older housing has much more accommodations for a real life. And so I'll make that point. The hotels, I think those should be left to the individual communities, and having this fast-tracked rezoning thing with no further inputs after tonight's meeting, period. That's just asking for the destruction of each individual neighborhood has its own individual characteristics. Those need to be enhanced, not changed and cookie stamped with the market housing and the big chain, the moms and pops and so on, the private businesses being overtaken. So I think maybe the city could appoint somebody. There's a book that was referenced. I have not heard talk of, in the last 10 years or last 15 years, really, of a solution offered for affordability. And it just needs to be addressed, and I'm sure that it can be. It's just not dignified to have people working and getting up at 4 in the morning to get to work at 8 so that they can work in a hotel. There's something wrong with that picture. So nurses can't afford housing either. That's what I called in to say, and I really oppose limiting public input. There was very little public input for this particular thing that you want to put through, the rezoning thing. You did with homeowners, but there's a lot of people that live there that are not owners. So I would hardly call that public input, although I do appreciate being able to speak tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll move to the next one.
With the speaker with the last 4 digits, 7330, please unmute and go ahead to start your comments.
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead, state your name, and if you're a resident of Vancouver, you can start your comments.
My name is Botchman Jomo. I go by Bull. I am not a resident of Vancouver. I oppose the proposal. It's very bothersome to me that the table proposal is fast-tracking rental housing and small hotels. The small hotels being the alarming piece in this. Vancouver has a housing crisis. Hotels are not the way to address this crisis. The influx of interprovincial migration away from Vancouver to Calgary is testament to this crisis. So I implore you, please pump the brakes on the fast-tracking rental housing and seek a humane solution to this crisis. That is it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is that those are your comments?
Yes, those are my comments.
Thank you.
I have I have to commute from Richmond to Vancouver. I work in Vancouver, and it's painful on my pocket. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next one.
Caller with the last four digits, 2895. Please unmute and go ahead to start your comments.
Okay, not hearing them. Let's move to the next one, please.
Speaker with the last four digits, 1325. Please unmute and go ahead to make your comments.
Hello?
Hi there, we can hear you. Please state your name and if you're a resident of Vancouver, and you can go ahead.
Hey, this is Taylor Curran. I am a resident of Vancouver, and I'm calling in to support this. I listen into a fair bit of these public hearings, and whenever a proposal for a tower or some other dense form of housing comes up, we hear the same people speak in opposition to those projects and say that they would be supportive of low and mid-rise density, 6 stories along commercial streets. This is exactly what is in front of you. I think this would be great for the city, and we absolutely need more rentals. I just want to speak a little bit about the hotel component. I've heard a lot of speakers essentially say, we don't need any more hotels. Hotels don't benefit us. It's just a giveaway to big hotel or something like that. And I don't agree. I think just like a lot of the small businesses that are already along these streets, I think hotels are also amenities that provide services and jobs to residents. Of course, lots of people work in hotels, but I'm getting married in 2 weeks. We have friends coming from all over the world, and they are looking at $300, $400, $500 a night to stay in hotels in the central parts of the city along these same nice commercial streets or downtown. When housing is so expensive, people don't have spare bedrooms when their friends and family come to visit. I live in a 1-bedroom with my partner. All of my friends, they don't have spare bedrooms. They don't have extra places for their friends and family to visit. So there being hotels and places for these people to stay are incredibly important to people living here and enjoying their time here. And of course, it's a huge part of our tourism industry too. It will bring people that would normally stay in a hotel downtown and only patronize the businesses downtown. It would bring them over to Commercial or over to Main Street or over to East Hastings or all these different business areas and spending their money at all these small local businesses in these great communities that they would never probably venture out to otherwise. So I just wanted to support the hotel component specifically as well. I think it's great to have more hotels, small hotels, integrated into communities, spread out across the city, not just concentrate all of that downtown. So I urge you to support this. I think it's a small step forward, but a worthwhile one nonetheless. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And now we'll move on to the last speaker, I believe. Okay, do we have, no? Okay. Do we have someone on the line or we're not sure?
We do. We're just getting more information to see if they're speaking on the correct item. One moment, please.
Okay, thank you.
We have one speaker on the line with the speaker with the last four digits, 7.
Okay, speaker, do you want to unmute? You can identify yourself if you're a resident of Vancouver, and please go ahead.
One moment. No further speakers are on the line.
Okay, seeing no further speakers, the list is now closed. Clerk, can I ask if there's been a large volume of public comments received on this item since 5 p.m.?
There have been comments that have been sent to council. It would be up to council to decide whether they need time to review the ones that have been submitted.
Okay, thanks very much. I'll look to council. Has council been able to keep up on the comments, or do you feel you need a short recess to review those? Just throughout the evening, Councillor Fry. So I'm not seeing any requests to do that. Councillor, comfortable they've received them? Okay. All right, I'm now closing receipt of public comments. Seeing there are fewer, none received, that those are closed. And at this point, does the applicant, does the General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, Sustainability, or the designate have any closing comments?
Thank you. So tonight we are recommending the rezoning of 2,400 parcels into a new consolidated C2A district. By allowing 6-story rental homes and small hotels on major arterial streets without site-by-site rezonings, we can streamline the process to deliver housing options and small hotels faster. I want to thank all the speakers for joining us and sharing their feedback. Your perspectives are important to the process. We heard several key concerns that I'd like to address. On affordability, we heard concerns around the difficulties working-class residents face in affording to live in our city. While today's proposal focuses on streamlining the C2 district schedule and allowing small-scale hotels, we remain committed to increasing affordable housing, which are separate, ongoing initiatives that are not part of tonight's changes, but that specifically increase below-market and social housing in different areas of the city. We also heard some concerns that this proposal is removing affordability requirements. We just want to clarify that no affordability requirements are being removed through these changes. On the rezoning process, we heard concerns around the loss of individual rezonings for these projects. We want to note that the vast majority of C2 projects already proceed without this step. This proposal extends that same allowance to 232 previously excluded sites, representing about 10% of sites in the new proposed C2A. Regarding hotels, 4-story hotels are already allowed to proceed under existing C2 zoning without a rezoning. For new 6-story hotel applications, staff note that the building form regulation proposed are identical to that of the current rental projects already allowed under the existing zoning. And through the DP process, the city still engages the public through public notification. On the issue of hotels versus housing, we heard concerns that hotels might outperform or replace rental housing. Our financial testing confirms that hotels do not outperform rentals. This update today ensures a viable path for small-scale hotels to operate outside the downtown core. So in closing, the proposal today consolidates 4 nearly identical C2 zones into a new C2A district, and it accelerates and streamlines the delivery of 6-story rental housing and small-scale hotels. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much for the closing comments. Do staff have any closing comments to add to that? No? Okay, and Council, any final questions to staff at this point? Okay, Councillor Fry, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Just right off the top, and also definitely heard a lot of the concerns around affordability and recognize that this isn't necessarily that, like an affordable housing delivery vehicle. TRPPs still apply to any tenants in any of this citywide?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so wanted to establish that. So given that this program is not designed to necessarily create affordable housing, but more market supply, is that generally how we interpret this?
That's correct.
Yeah, and I think I caught, like, what is the imperative here? Because I mean, obviously we've added a bunch of significant ODP changes, bypassing public hearings, mass rezonings already. and I think I heard that there's stuff waiting in the wings to happen. Is that an interpretation? If there's projects ready to go that are interested in this, is that fair?
Yeah, there's projects that are in stream currently that we would have to transition. I think, are you talking about hotel projects?
Well, just generally, this entire this package, what is the sort of driving imperative, given that we've made so many significant changes already, and we're hearing concerns from the public, and I just want to get that articulated.
Right, of course. So it's primarily to consolidate, 4 kind of nearly identical repetitive zones into one to establish a new C2 zone that's updated and modernized. And it is to bring those 232 previously excluded sites that still required a rezoning process to no longer require that process and to allow for 6-story hotels. Yeah. But it doesn't change fundamentally any form of development regulations that's already allowed in most of the zones.
Right. So we did hear, because obviously what some of the retail, the retail continuity in the beloved neighborhoods, storefronts, West 4th, South Hill, Kerrisdale Village, Hastings Sunrise, they're all like very vibrant, granular retail. Have we done economic testing on what this may mean for, I've certainly heard that concern from a few of the speakers that we may be jeopardizing the viability of these vibrant commercial districts through speculation. Is that a risk?
Good evening, Councillor. Sean Martinez from Employment Lands. I don't believe so. We do monitor all retail areas in the city through the storefront inventory every year, so we would know if there were any drops or sudden increases in vacancies within the area. New developments do also help with allowing for new retail spaces to be placed into these neighborhoods so that there is room for stores to be able to relocate and stay within the community. Without that allowance, if there is no slight vacancy, then we will get displacement and they will have to move away from other places.
I mean, that's a challenging assumption for me. Are we because I look at, like, say, Kingsway, where there's lots of the old fabric seems to be the more vibrant businesses, more affordable businesses, and where the new buildings come in tend to attract different kind, newer business like dollar stores and that kind of thing.
I think I'll reiterate what my colleagues have said, that at this point, this is more of an update to this existing zone and reviews of things whereby looking at uses and looking at size of these units will be further addressed in things like the citywide design guidelines and other related work coming down in the future.
So expanding on that, that's citywide design guidelines. You're talking about CRU kind of square footages, and we're not going to get necessarily big box stores, but keep that granular village style.
The Employment Lands team is working with our development planning stage to look at, make sure that we are, to the extent that we are able to regulate these spaces. Yes.
And so there is an active program because these, once they're gone, right? And this is, I think, the crux of some of the comments I heard. We are going to actively monitor the sort of viability of these beloved retail areas.
We do already do that through the storefront, the annual storefront inventory. Yes. Okay. And I believe that will be coming to council soon.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of out of time, but thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Fry. Councillor Maloney.
Thanks. Are there any benefits of having more housing and hotels on commercial streets? I mean, are there? What's the purpose of this? Is it seen as supporting local businesses?
Thank you, Councillor. So we know that hotels are able to assist with regards to just allowing more leverage into a street by providing more, not just the residents kind of provide a certain amount of traffic, and then our hotels would provide additional traffic that can expand the amount that would be supported within the street. So providing more options, more restaurants and things like that, because you do have that transient nature. In addition, with hotels, they kind of have a self-limiting property in that you wouldn't get more than probably one in a specific area, because that would be sort of the demand in the area or that. I'll invite my housing colleagues to speak to the housing demand portion.
Yeah, adding housing to these vibrant commercial areas is part of our complete communities initiative. So it's really trying to create complete equitable communities across the city, where adding housing will, will increase vitality, bring residents to shop and walk in their local business areas.
Thanks. And are there any protections for small businesses, especially independent businesses?
Thank you, Councillor. So the city does have the Commercial Tenant Assistance Program. So this is a website that was launched in 2022, and the applicants are asked to provide information from a website that provides information to all tenants prior to them being displaced. So if there is a development happening, we request that all the applicants provide this information to their tenants. The information is translated into 5 different languages, and it provides essentially information with regards to tenant rights, what they're able to negotiate with regards to their leases, and allow them the assistance to help them find a new space. Unfortunately, we do not have the same purview with regards to commercial leases as we do for residential leases. So this program has been in place since 2022.
Thank you. And how can the public participate in decision making if council adopts these recommendations?
There's still the notification process that happens through the development permit application. And so the public gets notified through that process and can send in comments to staff.
Okay, and we had some questions about whether this will fuel land speculation. Can you answer that?
So in terms of the rental housing, this is already allowed through the existing zoning. So there is really no additional density here that's being provided. So there isn't any additional incentives here. As to the hotels, I think, John, did you want to?
So as our colleague has already mentioned, the hotels are only filling up to the same density that is allowed for housing. So there is no new density being provided here. So the highest and best use would still be, with regards to that, the housing provision to the 6 stories, which is already allowed.
Thank you. And what would it do to the viability of the 6-story rental housing if we were to require that 20% below market inclusive zoning be provided?
It wouldn't work. So nobody would choose to build that right now. It's particularly because there already is a 6-story option for market rental. Or if you just changed it to below market rental, then people would just choose to do the strata option that's already allowed under zoning, and you wouldn't get the rental. But regardless of that, we've done this economic testing in 6 stories. A below market rental at 20% wouldn't work. Through our other initiatives, we've done a lot of economic testing, and we know that you would need a significantly more incentive to make below market rental work, which would bring you into a tower form, much like our experience through the MERP, the Moderate Income Rental Housing Pilot, and through the Broadway Plan. So you're looking more at like tower forms.
Thanks. I think I'm out of time. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Maloney. Councillor Claassen.
Thanks very much to staff. We have, I appreciate the commentary that responded to some of the concerns we heard from speakers tonight, and particularly the sentiment that some of this policy will threaten, it doesn't address affordability and potentially will impact workers, seniors. and take away from beloved retail. Just sort of first question is there any way that adding additional rental housing could worsen affordability for workers and seniors? From a housing policy perspective, is the intent of increasing the secured rental supply actually to improve vacancy rates and help moderate rent pressures over time?
Yes, that's the intent. It's to increasing supply will have a moderating impact on rents. We're actually seeing that now in new market rents. We have seen that new market rents have gone down, for the first time in a very long time. So for renters, that's actually good news. That means, more choice and better affordability.
I know that you tried to underline that we have significant efforts surrounding housing affordability tied to other projects developments, the below market rental requirements. But in this particular case, these projects are not necessarily a part of that more holistic approach, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So we know that many of the sites can already pursue 6-story rental projects through rezonings. And so is one of the primary changes here simply to reduce time, cost, and uncertainty?
That's correct. Yeah. Noting again that the majority of sites in the C2 already allow that for rental. We're just bringing in the 232 previously excluded sites.
Okay, thanks very much. And can you just respond to what are the consequences of maintaining the status quo?
Maintaining the status quo, we would, for those 232 excluded sites, they would have to go through a longer process and add to their time and cost. There would be our zoning districts for the C2, they will continue to be complex with rules that are out of date. Further, one of the consequences is that this C2 zone is going to be used as a new basis for the C2 for the Villages program. So this is helping to bring that forward. It's also making sure that this new C2 is ODP compliant. So we had to make a change to ensure that there's ground floor non-residential uses, just to ensure that it's compliant with ODP.
Thanks. And just a last question. There are a number of comments expressing concern around the lack of public hearings. Since we've adopted the ODP, we are responding to provincial legislation. So this is something that's been driven by the provincial government largely to kind of reduce and streamline that process, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thanks very much. I'm happy to move the recommendations, Chair, and we'd be happy to go to...
We're not quite there yet. Just give me a moment, please, Councillor Klassen. Just checking in with the clerk. Did we receive any additional public comments as a close of public comments?
No, we did not.
Okay. And I will remind Council we need to move the recommendation together with the yellow memo of April 27th. And Councillor Klassen, you'd like to move that? Do you have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Montague. Council will now make its decision on the application. Is there any discussion? Councillor Klassen, you want to put yourself back on? There we go. Yeah, go ahead.
Seeing that the clock hasn't been reset, but that's fine. I'll be very quick. These policy changes that are coming through, as described, are for the most part in response to provincial.
Hang on a second. I'm trying to move you to the main queue so we can reset your timer, Councillor Klassen. Apologies. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
There you go.
Thanks very much. I realize that some of the work that staff are bringing back to us are a direct result of provincial legislation, but nonetheless, we are also trying to respond to what has been a longstanding concern about the time is driving up the cost of housing development here. I'm as much as I respect people come in and speak to these proposals, and I do think it's a bit of a stretch for me to hear that by building more rental housing and more small hotels, that we are going to have this adverse impact on our neighborhoods. And I want to just use the example of Fraser Street, because Fraser Street as part of this proposal, and I've watched Fraser Street over the last 2.5 decades evolve into one of the most livable and attractive streets in our city. I would say vacancy rates are largely extremely low. I've seen small retail recently expand into a larger premise in a newly built 6-story building at 28th and Fraser, all of which, and all 6 of the storefronts there, I gather, even though none have opened yet, there's, I think, a couple that are close to it, but according to the developer, all of the spaces have been leased. We're seeing the new housing or new rental housing development at the corner of Kingsway and Fraser on the northeast corner, where Sal Ilamon a restaurant and other retailers that were there worked out a deal with the developer to have space when they could come back after the completion of the project. So there was a lot of effort to try and accommodate those things. I'm sort of seeing over time, I'm seeing with the new retail spaces, there's some incredible new places that have opened up at 19th and Fraser, at 20th and Fraser, and new commercial, very places that are 23rd and Fraser that are all kind of as a result of new housing development, new rental housing development that's been happening in those areas, located in every case in 6-story buildings. I just think that we're going to see over time and there are also some other commercial areas that are really near end of life. You can tell from just looking at them that they really need significant investment or maintenance in order to be able to continue. And sometimes it's just unaffordable to allow that to happen. So I generally take a very optimistic view, but I think we all have to have a very close eye on the impacts. And so the comments from staff back that they are monitoring this, they're looking at vacancy rates, they are watching the cost of rent, among other things as considerations. So I will be happy to support moving this plan forward, but also comforted by the fact that I'm seeing some positive outcomes, and as well, we are watching very closely the impacts of some of these changes over time. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Glass and Councillor Maloney.
Thank you. I appreciate the public speakers for taking the time to share their views with us tonight, and I'm really deeply sympathetic to the people who've talked about having to travel long distances to reach work in Vancouver and not being able to afford to live in Vancouver. Your concerns are absolutely legitimate, and government should be providing enough non-market affordable housing so that everyone can afford a home close to where they work. And I just couldn't agree more strongly that we need living wages and affordable housing. I also believe that we need more homes in the city of Vancouver. We're the centre of the region. There is a connection, as one of the speakers said, between housing scarcity and housing affordability. We generally need to be allowing low-rise apartment buildings to be built in more places in the city. I'm in favour of more low-rise apartment buildings, and quite frankly, the one thing I don't like about this proposal is building more rental housing on arterial roads when we're not doing enough to reduce the negative effects of busy roads, because tenants, just like everyone else, want to live on quiet, safe leafy neighbourhood streets, not on noisy, polluted, dangerous arterials. But I want to see more low-rise apartment buildings built all over the city. What this proposal does is not designed to solve the very real problems of affordable housing. You know, we've heard staff say that if we require 20% below market housing in 6-storey rental apartment buildings, they just won't be built. And there are benefits to having market rental housing. That doesn't mean that we can't do both things. We need to do both things. And, you know, I've taken every opportunity during my period on council to push as hard as I can for more affordable housing and for streamlining social housing projects. The problems are real. This is not the vehicle, I believe, to solve all the problems, but I think generally that approving this is going to make things better in some ways on balance. So I really appreciate the legitimate concerns that have been raised by the public speakers, and there are other ways that we can work on those issues, and should be not just senior levels of government, but us at the City of Vancouver. But this is a good streamlining program, and I'm in support of it, so I'll be voting in favour. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Fry.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the work the staff put into this, and I really appreciate the speakers, and I recognize that a lot of the conversation tonight around this was driven by very legitimate concerns around housing affordability and how disconnected housing market rents are from median incomes in this city, and indeed, as we heard, from median incomes of folks who can't even afford to live in the city, but would like to. And I think that's an important reflection. But I also recognize that that's not what this particular proposal is about, and this consolidation of these various zones. I still have concerns, and I totally appreciate the work that staff have put into this, and I recognize that they have articulated that, look, there's going to be some checks and balances, but there's this piece that's lacking for me in this report that's like a pace of change, and you know, Councillor Klassen was talking about, you know, how Fraser Street's doing and Kingsway, and it's true, there's lots of really interesting opportunities and stuff, but when I look at a lot of those streets, the best businesses tend to be in the single stories. They're not, there's nothing above them. They're usually 1-story buildings, and they're fairly ubiquitous all along Kingsway, all along Fraser, Hastings Sunrise and stuff. And unfortunately, when we do see new builds come in, oftentimes what ends up ending up there is like a dollar store, a vape store, a dentist office. And I totally appreciate that we are seeing more work coming in how we can kind of finesse that vibrancy and ensure that we have that continuity of the businesses that make our neighborhoods so great. But I'm struggling because I don't actually see it in a way that gives me the confidence. And I recognize this is consolidation of multiple zoning maps, but I can also see where as members of the public look at it and they look at like all of Kingsway is now outlined in black, and it suggests that it could be big changes for Kingsway. And because we don't have any kind of rate of change baked into this, because we don't have any kind of moderating effect that we're basically trusting to a future report, possibly a future council, I'm struggling to give this my full stamp of approval. And so I feel that my best recourse on this is to abstain from a vote, which does count as an affirmative, but it also suggests that I don't have enough information to vote positively in the affirmative. But I do recognize that we're also being driven by housing targets that we need to achieve, provincial mandates, the need for more supply. It doesn't necessarily translate into affordable supply that folks are seeking and have talked about tonight. And it hasn't translated into the kind of business continuity that I would like to see in these kind of plans that really recognize the vibrancy of our retail neighborhoods, which often don't get the conversation that they're due. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Council, reminder that anybody participating virtually whose video is disabled will be marked absent for the vote. So if you wish to vote, please ensure your camera's on. I'm now going to call the vote. If Council can do that on screen. Clerk, can I get a vote assist in favor? Oh, I should be able, wait a sec, I should be able to do that myself. Here we go.
Chair, I'll require a vote assist in favor, please. Thank you.
Okay, and a vote assist for Councillor Dominato. Okay, so that passes with none in opposition. Okay, so that, thank you, everybody. That concludes item 2. I'm now going to present an option to council. Obviously, I don't think we're going to get into speakers this evening for the next item. We will cease at 10 o'clock unless council wishes to consider an alternative, because we do have staff here as well as the applicant who have been here for quite some time for item 1. And I'm wondering if council would like to conclude at 10 or alternatively hear the presentation from the applicant, since the staff have waited for that. We have a staff team and the applicant. And then we could commence speakers on our reserve date, which is coming up on Thursday on May 7th. Councillor Montague?
I'm happy to move a motion to hear the staff presentation and the applicant presentation.
Okay. Do we have a seconder for that?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Dominato. And that is debatable. So Councillor Maloney, would you like to speak to it?
Does that mean that we will be asking questions, or we will just hear the...
That's up to council if you'd like to do the questions as well.
I do not want to do the questions. I'm happy to hear the presentations by council and the applicant, but that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bly?
Well, if that's the case, then I think the applicant and staff are going to have to come back anyway, so I think we should just recess and start the application in full on the reserve date on Thursday, hearing the report now, the presentation, and then holding questions. I feel like we'll just need the presentation repeated on Thursday, so I won't be supporting starting it. We only have 7 minutes till we can recess.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Bly. I put myself on to say I would concur. I would do the presentation, the questions out of sort of consideration of staff's and the applicant's time, but I'll leave that to council if they want to amend or consider the motion as it's on the floor. Councillor Maloney?
Yeah, I would vastly prefer to just start everything on the reserve date.
Okay. If there are, and then any other comments? Final comment, Councillor Montague?
Well, I can either rescind my motion or change it to...
We can either just vote on it and it will pass or not, or you can rescind it. We can do 2 votes to rescind and then to... Do you want to do a motion to rescind? That requires a 2/3, and I don't, the body, and I don't believe we have that many councillors. Okay, that is the other alternative, is that you can withdraw it, which requires unanimous consent of all councillors present.
Judging from what I'm hearing around the council chamber, well, I just rescind the motion.
Okay, so you're withdrawing, just to be clear.
I'll withdraw the motion, yeah.
And all in favor? Are there any opposed to that? I'm just double checking. I didn't hear any nays. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. That means that we are now recessed until Thursday, May 7th at 3 p.m., at which point we will commence with item 1. Yes, item 1. And we'll remind council it's important you don't engage in any discussion or correspondence in respect to the remaining applications. Okay, and referencing the meetings here in chamber and online. Thank you, everybody. Good night.